automatic bye.
Big Ten regular season over. Oregon undefeated, 12-0 in their first outing with the Big Ten Conference play. A special season.
This is a Big Ten Championship Week edition of Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here. Online at modspdx.com.
Dirt and Sprague on the Odyssey app and 1080.
Season's not over yet.
The Fan.
All right, 6:02 in the Rose City. Time for Dirt and Sprague on Portland Sports Leader. 1080 AM. The Fan.
24 Reno.
3 Dallas. Ready?
58. Blue Poncho. 58. Rambo. 59. Monday. Red Polly.
Red Light, 24 double Puma on one. Repeat.
Here we go.
Happy Football Friday, everybody.
What is happening?
One of the last college football Fridays of our lives.
God, so sad, man.
It is.
R.I.P. I will remember you.
My wife goes, Do we have any plans this weekend? And
Yes.
I said, yeah, I do.
Yes.
I know what you're doing.
You kidding me? Starts on a Friday night, 9 a.m. tomorrow, Big 12, 12:30 SEC. Do we have plans this weekend? Get out of here.
Look, there's only so many weekends of the calendar year where I'm kind of rendered pretty useless as like a husband/dad. This is one of them.
A lot of college football Saturdays can kind of blend together where there's like, all right, yeah, keep an eye on it. But
There's windows in the weekends.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't really care about
okay, by
these
4:30,
games.
I should be home because these are the good primetime games, or it's a big noon game. That's the one you want to watch. This is one that it's kind of wall-to-wall all day. I'm excited for every single one of these games this weekend.
I had one. I can't remember the week, nor can I remember the game. I want to say it was maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago. I could be wrong on that, but it wasn't that long, but it was a little bit. And my wife goes, hey, can you go with us? We're going to go do this. And it wasn't something important. And I remember saying out loud, yeah. And she goes, are you sure? And I go, well, Dirt's going to probably talk about this game. Yeah, let's go. We don't need
use
to.
me as an excuse? I like that.
No. I left because
yeah.
I just said, well, he's probably going to be weird and disgusting and watch that game, but nobody really cares about it.
I'm the only one, man.
He's going to pull it out of his ass as a ref. Did you watch North Carolina, Minnesota?
Were you plugged into Iowa, Nebraska on Friday like I was? Because I was glued to that game on Friday night.
I didn't watch a second of that game.
Dude, you missed one of the most glorious football games of the year.
Didn't. No, you gave
Iowa
me
won a
stats.
game without converting a third down.
They were
0 for 10 on third down. There was a stat floating around that they legitimately had 6 offensive plays that went for positive yards the entire game.
I kind of thought
And
doing
they won.
NFL Factoid Tuesday would end up motivating your ass
To do a college football factoid day?
Yeah, because, like, you give me the stats of Iowa, who I think finished with 60 yards of total offense.
It was so bad.
And they won 13-10. Like,
they won
that's
the game.
that just game existing is insane.
It sums up why college football is beautiful, and it's stupid, and it doesn't make any sense that there's teams like that, and then there's teams that can score 50 a game. That's why I love it. It's a beautiful sport. And thankfully, at least this year, we have an exciting postseason. That's been the one downside of college football forever, is that you have this big finish to conference championship week, then it's like, all right,
yeah, I know.
see you on January 1st.
It
okay.
used to be so much worse.
Now it's time for the LA Bowl and the Idaho Potato Bowl, and this is what we're going to watch for the next month, and then you get playoff games. Now you get these, a slight break, you get Army-Navy next weekend, and then boom, you're right into the college football playoff.
Is the Pop-Tart Bowl going to be a thing again?
I believe
back?
so.
I
hope so. I believe so.
Can I make an argument to you?
Got the Mayo Bowl.
What do you got?
The Pop-Tart Bowl.
I believe in voting. I'm a big voter, okay? And if I vote for something and that doesn't get picked, I usually, as like my individual self, take a step back and say, what am I not seeing or what am I missing here, okay?
How am I off on this?
Right. I think that's what we all need to be doing. And I would say, as a guy who really is pro-voting, we as college football fans, we should be given a window to vote on playoff games. And what I mean by that is not the matchups. I want the Pop-Tart Bowl to be a semifinal game.
You want that game to be more significant.
I want that Pop-Tart cooking itself and the winner of a semifinal
Yes.
playoff game eating a giant-ass Pop-Tart.
Or the Mayo Bowl, where like in a quarterfinal game, Oregon beats Georgia,
Yes.
and then you have to get a
Dan
Mayo.
Lanning.
He's got
Lanning's
to
got
have
half.
Mayo dumped on his head after the game.
Dan, what are you going to do next? I'm going to bathe in mayo, right?
Right.
Is it
And then we'll
smelling
go
so
get ready
great?
for Texas, right? After this
Locker
Mayo
room
bath.
reeks, baby.
God, that'd be great. great. They should rotate it around. That would be glorious. First, I want home sites, but if we can't get that, and you got to shove corporate sponsors down my throat, then give me the Pop-Tart Bowl in a semifinal.
Well, that's what I'm saying is like if you do the first 2 rounds home sites, then the semis to the championship, those should be corporate. Give me the Duke's Mayo Bowl in one venue and the Pop-Tart Bowl in the other. And then the national championship, you can just go do whatever. If you want to go to like Atlanta or Dallas.
Yeah, go to your big city.
Yeah, go to your big city with your big NFL stadium.
Right.
Sell out as a corporate shill.
They still need to name the bowl something, though. See, I wish that the national championship were still called something, because back in the day, it was just a rotation of the 4 or 5 major bowls, and, the Rose Bowl happened to be the championship one year. It was the Fiesta Bowl. I like that.
Well, one year,
Well, here's your problem, Schultze. There's too much money on the line now. You're not going to do that. You got cities that are bidding to host the game.
Well, isn't that
We got a national championship in Santa Clara a couple of years ago. Remember that?
Don't we just call it the national championship?
Yeah, just
nice.
But Schultze is right. It used to just rotate one of the 4 BCS bowl sites, and that would be the only place that would host it.
Prior to that, though, even prior to the BCS, I don't know. Schultze, how old are you? Are you our age?
35.
You're 35. Okay, so you're Dirt's
About
age.
36.
So you're in the same kind of wheelhouse here. Prior to the BCS, when Washington's winning a title because, Norm in Pennsylvania is writing them in.
Yeah, baby.
Back in the day.
We didn't have a set national championship game. It was largely like, who is the number 1 team and where did they play? Oh, Miami won the Orange Bowl. They're the national championship. That wasn't the national championship game.
They didn't have one.
That just
SMU
concreted
declare themselves national champions in 1981? Or
A lot of teams
co-national
have, yeah.
champions?
Oklahoma State's still doing it. Hey, by the way, in 1932, we feel like we won a national championship, so we're going to go ahead and claim
I remember that.
And then they lost like 4 games that season, but one person voted them number 1 at the end of the season. That's the way it worked.
In the Big Ten, Rutgers, the home of collegiate football, the first ever game. It all started back at Rutgers. It was
Damn
them.
right.
And gosh, it was either like one of the other Ivy League schools or some other East Coast school, but they both played each other like twice. That was the college football season that year, and they both declared national champions as their schools.
I'll never forget one of the first sports memories I have. We actually talked about it yesterday because we were talking about teams that you connect to certain bowl games. And I'll always think, when I think of the Rose Bowl, outside of the games that my team has played, the picture that comes into my head is Michigan and Charles Woodson with the rose in his mouth. Cougar fan was chiming in saying there's still technically 2 seconds left on the clock. We want to see Ryan Leaf get one more shot at knocking Michigan off, and I can appreciate that. I remember it dawning on me. I would have been, 8 years, about 8 or 9, somewhere in that range when that game happened. I remember it dawning on me because the other team, do you remember who they split with in 1997?
Oh, I know
They didn't win the national title. Michigan was a split national title in 1997. And it was the last year before the BCS started.
Dude, I know this. It wasn't Nebraska.
It was Nebraska.
Was it Nebraska?
In 1997. And I remember my family, my grandparents, they were all like, Nebraska winning national titles was a regular thing for them. And I think that's when it started computing for me, and they were bragging about winning a national title. But I grew up rooting for Michigan as well because I liked the helmets and Charles Woodson was cool. And I was like, no, wait, well, no, they didn't. Michigan won. And they're like, no, we won. But it didn't make, and then the very next year you got the BCS system where we actually had a national championship game.
And then we got outraged, and then we got a playoff, and then we got outraged or not teams, and now we got 12, and now we're outraged.
Yeah, it's not enough. We need 32.
We're never happy.
We need somebody on college football Reddit made like a 1,000 team college football bracket for the postseason. Everybody, top level all the way down to the bottom. Make it happen. Let's go.
If I'm ever an old man and I've got like a great grandkid, Grandpa, how would you sum up America in your life? Always unhappy.
Yeah.
We're never happy.
No. That's
You're right, Grandpa. We don't fly fast enough whenever we need to go somewhere.
No, go quicker. Why does it take so long?
I would say, though, I had somebody, I think it was my brother, had brought up, Washington, and they were watching the Washington-Oregon game, and like, oh, man, and I don't remember how it was brought up. I have to check my text, but it was like, oh, the national championship in 91. And I said, yeah, Dirt clowns him for it. Go, really? Team was loaded. And I go,
they were great.
I know. But if his team also had the same thing happen, he would be claiming it.
Oh, you're damn right I would. Get you one of these.
That's what's funny about the voting thing. We bag it. You know who would win the vote for the number 1 team in the country in the national championship if we did it that way, right? green and yellow team.
You're damn right they
Undefeated.
would. Give us the trophy now.
And now you
We
count
don't
it.
need to play a postseason. We're going to go play a team in the Rose Bowl. There's no other need, and that's the way we're going to crown it. You give us a national championship, we're undefeated. That's how it should work.
Now, you'd have to balance this, so this could be a stupid question, but it could also be a difficult one.
Yeah.
We really want to see this 12-team playoff play out, right?
We do.
But if I gave you the option of watching the first 12-team playoff ever in college football history, or your team just getting voted in,
Just voted a national
as a
champion.
national championship,
I mean, I'm taking the vote for sure. I'm taking the vote. You kidding
So
me?
no games
No
are
games.
played.
No games played. Stop the count. It's over. Season's over. Stop it right now. We won a national championship.
That's
damn
what
it.
I thought.
I was scrolling through the list of bowl games as well of the other funny like quarterfinal, semifinal
We
sites.
should be able to vote on this. I'm not kidding.
I mean, how is the 68 Ventures Bowl in Mobile, Alabama not going to get a semifinal?
Well, they didn't give the most money. You guys were
Come
telling me it's
on.
all about
That's the way it should
shilling
work,
corporate
right?
Sponsorship.
You want a
It's
hot
about
take?
What about the Wasabi Fenway Bowl? Give them a quarterfinal in Boston playing in a baseball field.
Is the Outback still doing a bowl game?
I believe the Outback is still doing a bowl
Let's
game.
go.
See, we should be doing that as a playoff game, and the winning coach gets like trapped in a stack of onion rings.
Yeah, that's-
They should play that game in Australia.
Oh, that'd be bad.
That's even
You don't want the Radiance Technologies Independence Bowl in Shreveport, Louisiana,
I'm gonna
to
pass
host a semifinal
I
game.
don't, I don't think I could name all the bowls anymore.
Oh, it's insane. By the way, the Pop-Tart Bowl still takes place. It's on December 28th. That is also the same day as the Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl presented by Gin and Juice by Dre and Snoop Dogg.
I mean, okay, if you're gonna give me the halftime show of Dre and Snoop and the Gin and Juice Bowl,
cool,
might need to be a playoff.
Is it a
game.
halftime show of them, or is it just
Probably
their
not, but I'm
alcohol?
saying if it's a
No.
playoff game, then maybe it is a halftime show.
It's true.
Where's that game being played?
That
the
game
Pop-Tart Bowl?
the Pop-Tart Bowl is being played in Orlando, Florida. Who doesn't want to go to Orlando, Florida this
Go to
time of year?
Disney World.
Sounds delightful. Let's go down there, roast a Pop-Tart, and win a playoff game.
Oh man, I love sports. I love sports so much.
I'm having fun talking about this because there is genuinely a part of me that's really sad. I love college football more than anything on this planet, and when
Yeah.
it comes to an end, like this is it. We got like 1 month left, basically, and then it's all over.
It's probably, and I don't think I'm speaking for a majority of people, but I think I'm speaking for a decent amount. It's probably the biggest criticism. I don't get it a lot in my personal life because people in my life know to like, hey, I know when I suck. I don't need to hear it. You know what I mean? Like, and people tell me enough that I don't need to hear more of it. It's probably the one thing I hear, though, the most is like, you guys don't do as much NFL as I always think. And I'm like, that's because my co-host snorts college football like it's crack cocaine.
I do.
So
I
from
do.
like 6:30 to 9, I'm lucky if there's an NFL segment in there.
We'll sneak in a little man Campbell on 4th down today. You'll get
Oh,
that
I'm
on
gonna
a
get to that
conference
coming up
on a
next.
conference championship Saturday. I give you that. I'll sneak a little bit of that in. That was a good game last
And so
night.
I know as your co-host how genuinely sad you are becoming. I'm sad too. I am. I love college football as well. You just go to like a disgusting level with it. You are Ben Stiller at the end of Dodgeball,
Yeah.
bucket of chicken. That's you in college football season.
Eating up the Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl on Tuesday, December 17th.
Have you seen The
Hell
Whale yet?
yeah, brother.
The
No, I have
movie I
not.
told you about,
I've
Brendan
not seen
Fraser.
The Whale.
Have you seen that movie, Schultz?
The Whale, I've heard about it. Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's
You have to mentally be ready.
it's a sad story, but he did it well. So that was
No,
his
he was
comeback.
amazing in that
Yeah.
movie. There is a scene in that's Dirt during college. It's at the back end of the movie. He kind of knows he's going to die,
Like this is the end.
and he just unloads the entire kitchen into his gullet.
Just a couple of pizzas going down, a lot of
Pizzas,
wings,
full-size
chips.
candy bars,
Yeah.
chips, just like
How did they film that with him eating all that food?
you know.
Because he eats it in the movie, right? Like it's
I think he takes a lot of bites. I think it's a lot of cutting and
Cut,
editing.
spit it
I don't know
out
how
kind of
else
thing.
you eat all that
Yeah,
food.
it's-
I mean, he was bigger when he shot it. Not that big, but like
oh, it's
he's
clearly a lot of makeup and stuff.
he's
but
had a weight loss battle.
I'm
so.
sure he gained a little bit of the LBs,
Yeah.
but that's dirt. My point is that is dirt for college football. It's like,
He's covered in chicken grease.
dude, you need to stop. You're gonna die.
This is
You're
a
like,
problem, dude. I got an issue, man.
Yeah, you do.
It's a
you
major
missing that
problem.
Conference USA action on Wednesdays like I am?
I know that my wife, when I get home today, she's off today. I'm going to get the question at some point, are we going to watch a Christmas movie tonight? I know that question is looming, and I'm going to have to look at her and say, honey, I'm sorry. It's the Mountain West Championship.
Can I give you a good one?
Winner goes to the playoff.
I don't. Well, actually, yeah, it's a good point. The Mountain West. Do you know what they're airing on NBC tonight for the first time in 50 years?
In 50 years.
This
What
is
is
kind of
this?
that time of year where I don't watch a lot of network television, but sometimes things can get me to it.
First time in 50 years. It's not Wonderful Life because I think they show that every year.
Nope. Wonderful Life will eventually be on TV.
Yes.
The tough thing with that on TV is it's a 4-hour extravaganza.
God, that movie is long.
Well, there's just too many commercial
Yeah.
breaks. That's the problem.
I mean, it's long when you watch it without commercials.
Right.
You're like, geez, like 2 hours
Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Like the old school cartoony one?
The claymation
Rankin
one.
and
yeah.
Bass,
Okay.
Rankin
or whatever the
Bass,
hell it
yeah.
was.
I'm down with that. I'll watch that.
I don't know what time. I think it's 8.
Those are usually the Christmas movies that I'm down with this time of year during football season because they're not very long.
Yeah.
Like you're not sitting down
30,
for
40 minutes.
like, hey, let's watch a Christmas movie. How about Charlie Brown? It's 30 minutes long. Boom, and then you're in and you're out. You're done.
That's a TV episode.
Hey! It's a movie, Schultze. It's a movie.
Oh, you think Charlie Brown Christmas is an episode, not a movie?
No, it was a TV special, like sponsored by Coca-Cola. That was the whole reason it was written. It was to advertise Coca-Cola during Christmas time in a 30-minute TV slot. So it is a
How about that?
TV special.
Coca-Cola
And-
dominates Christmas.
big
Oh,
time.
dude, the polar bear.
Just the polar
big Santa
bear,
Claus.
Santa driving around. Yeah, it just Coca-Cola hits home runs every year this time of year.
Pepsi really dropped the ball. They try to
They
compete,
do.
and you can't beat Christmas.
Kendall Jenner stopping a protest. That's not going to do it. What are we doing, Pepsi?
Yeah, ending racism with Pepsi.
Remember that?
God.
Here, you take a Pepsi. Why don't you calm down over there? You sip a Pepsi and sit your ass
We're
down.
all-
Black guy, white guy,
Yeah.
drink Pepsi, be friends.
Ah, now I get along with the cops. How about that? Pepsi solving problems.
Yeah, but all those producers saw money, basically, and then produced the Thanksgiving and Halloween specials as well. And
Yeah,
they're all
on top
what,
of
like
it.
30 or less minutes?
What
They're like
exact-
24 minutes.
They're pretty quick.
Still has a job at Pepsi that came up with
no
that
chance
idea.
that person still
Oh,
has
no.
a
What
job.
if we hired Kendall Jenner, and then
a non-controversial figure who's beloved by everybody.
she steps in the middle of a BLM protest?
It's
Enhanced
actually
Pepsis
reportedly
to
the
both
same
sides.
person that got hired by Bud Light and screwed both sides politically over. I'm just kidding. It's not true at all.
Oh,
What a world of marketing we
What
live
do
in,
you
huh?
get paid for, man? I could come up with a better idea than that. What's that? A 6-figure job? 7-figure job? Hire
Sometimes
me
there
to
are
be the
ideas
consulting.
that I'm like, who did this?
This is the dumbest thing I've ever seen, man.
Oh my God. Well, it's a football Friday. We're going along already. Look at us. Let's get it going. We got a lot to get to today. It is conference championship weekend in college football. Let's start though with the NFL. Next on the Fan.
Oregon Ducks football is on the Fan. Trips to the right.
is here.
On 1080 The Fan.
I love when people in life elicit an emotional reaction from people. My dad texted me yesterday, I'm sorry, but Campbell made a bad decision on that one. Total arrogance. This is the NFL, and the pack ain't foo-foos. Please. I almost hope they lose because of that stupid-ass call.
I'm imagining that's the 1 4th down that they did not get that elicited that reaction, not the ones that they did get.
I didn't respond to that text because you are correct. And then he got the one at the end that clinched it. And I just sent Randy Marsh carrying his balls in a wheelbarrow after they converted it and said, well, I think he was right.
It is so funny that my brother is almost identical to that. Anytime there's a 4th down decision that gets talked about, I will get a text from him, especially in Oregon games where it's an immediate, you got to take the points.
Well, because that's Dan Lanning.
Got to take the points.
Dan Campbell, Dan Lanning, same
They're
person.
the same guy. I'm like, dude, this works so many times. It's so fun. How are you against this? It's enjoyable. It's entertaining. It's the ride of your life. Have fun.
I just
life's too short. Go for it.
I get it. It's that 4th down that he didn't get, quite controversial. You're in your own territory pretty deep. It's 4th and 1.
Yeah.
And it didn't work.
Nope.
And the Packers capitalize. They score. They take the lead. You're probably freaking out because you spragged the lines on the lines -3.
I would, but I also wasn't freaking out because if he didn't go for it on the 2 4th and goals earlier in the game, they wouldn't have been in a position to even cover the spread.
I loved so much at the end of the half going for that 4th and goal and saying, no, you know what? I don't want to be up. What was it? There would have been 13-7.
Yeah, it was 10-7. They had a 4th and goal from the 2-yard line with 12 seconds left or whatever it was in the first half.
But the funny thing is he did this in the NFC Championship game and it bit him. And so it's like, he's going to have both these moments potentially present themselves where he doesn't get it in the playoffs. The other team stops him, then scores, and the city of Detroit's going to move him out of his next house.
It's just so dumb.
That's the thing about coaches like this, and Lanning is kind of this. It's not that they're right every time, but there's an element, and you can hear the players in the Lions locker room talk about this. There's an element of he just has a fundamental to his core belief in his dudes to capitalize and execute plays.
Yes.
And it doesn't mean it's always right. The 4th down bot is always going to question some things, and fans are going to question it, especially if it fails. But if all you do is root and cheer and go crazy when it succeeds, there's an element of, okay, that one failed. You hope the defense kind of bails you out and holds maybe to a field goal or causes a turnover. You can't completely kill a guy if it fails.
This was my whole thing on the Oregon-Wisconsin fake field goal, which I get for a lot of people was a frustration point. But I just chuckled and said, did you say that when they faked the punt against Maryland and Jordan Birch was running down the field? Like a running back going on a 4.2 40, picking up 40 yards. Did that one bother you? When they played Ohio State and he did the water boy onside kick and drilled it into a guy's chest, they recovered it, and that ended up being a massive play in the game. Are you complaining when he did that, or are you only going to complain when it doesn't work out? That was the funny thing about last night was they had the lead in the game literally because he was going for it on 4th down at the goal line twice, and they scored touchdowns twice going for it. That was the reason they had the lead to begin with. So I get that it's controversial. I love coaches who are willing to be aggressive, who are willing to stick to their identity, who are not going to be scared away by past results. And I also looked at that game last night, and one of the fears that I had in gambling on Detroit, it was funny, it ended up being a push, was their entire front seven is out defensively right now, essentially. They got a couple of guys left in the back end, but then Branch left the game late. I don't know if he was cramping or if it was something more serious than that, but he's maybe their best guy in the secondary. So on the last one specifically that everybody was freaking out about, there would have been about 45 seconds left, and you have a mashed unit on defense. What are the chances Jordan Love gets that ball into field goal range and the Packers tie it? And then it comes down to a coin toss in overtime because of the way your defense had been playing up to that point. They gave up 24 points in the second half of that game. Mm-hmm. So what's the strength of Detroit? It's their offensive line. That's their identity. Win the game with them on the field. I loved that call.
And then Goff falls down and you go in real time. Oh, my God. Oh, they got it.
Thank God it's not college football because that would have been a loss of 3 because he got tripped up by his guard.
Now, I'm asking sincerely because I referenced the NFC Championship game. They lost that. He was aggressive in that game.
Yes,
and
he was.
It kind of led to what we talked about a few months ago. He had to move because football fans are psychotic.
Which, like that, yeah, those Detroit fans should be thrown in jail for life. You've had nothing to cheer for your entire life outside of stars who have been wasted. This guy got you to the NFC title game, and you want to run him out of town?
Is he gonna be that? Is he gonna do that play
Yes.
though in the playoffs?
I think that he will.
You
I think
really
this is who
think
he
he
is.
will?
Yes, I do.
Because I think it's one thing to do it in the regular season. That win last night all but locks up their division for them.
At 12-1, I mean,
They'd have to crumble completely to not win the division.
they're only a game ahead of Minnesota technically, but I
know.
don't. I'm with you there.
Based on what we've seen from those two teams, right? I don't know if I am convinced he will do that every opportunity given in the playoffs.
Well, I mean, I don't think it's just a blank check. Like anytime there's a fourth down, you're never going to punt again.
Well, the 4th and 1 in your own territory, the one he didn't get.
Yep.
Is he going to try that in the playoffs? I don't know if he will.
I think a lot of it will depend on a couple of things. One, what defense are you playing? What is your confidence level in the call that you have that's set up? Now, a lot of these worked, but the toss that they called on the 4th and short didn't work out for him. And then back to the point that I was making, like, how's his defense playing? Is his defense getting shredded every time by whoever they're playing in that situation? Because if that's the case, then yes, be aggressive and
if he's
go for
playing
it.
the Eagles, is he going for that?
How many points do the Eagles have at that moment of the game? And are they moving the ball easily up and down the field on Detroit? And if that's the case, then yes, I think he's going for it. But if that's like a 10-3 game and Philly's really struggling and Hurts has a couple of picks.
Let's say it's kind of yesterday. The beginning in the first half of that game was Lions defense
It
dominating.
It was.
And the second half was the Packers figuring some stuff out. Love throwing some absolute dimes.
He did.
If it's the same kind of game.
I think he's going for it. I just think that's who he is, man.
In his own territory.
In his own territory. And I'm
Wow.
going to root like hell
Up
for
3.
him. Up 3.
Wow.
Let's go, Roar boys.
I don't know if he will. And that's going to be interesting to watch. It's one thing to do it in the regular season. You can afford a loss. You are trying to win a division. I think it's another. It's like, we lose this game. This is it. Our season's over. We are the Vegas favorite to win the NFC and the Super Bowl. Would he do it there? I don't know if I'm convinced he would against a team like Philadelphia. Everybody else, including Green Bay, I think he goes for it. Philadelphia is the one team I say, is he convinced he can run and push that defensive front deep in his own territory, 3-point lead? I don't know if he pushes that button. I think he punts.
The interesting thing about these two wins for them, so the one last night and the one earlier this year, Green Bay, we all viewed coming into the season as their biggest threat in the NFC North. Jordan Love, where's he going to go? Minnesota kind of came out of nowhere, and they're still technically alive.
Yeah.
But if they end up winning the division, it'll be because they won these two games against Green Bay, likely. And in those two games, he went for it on 4th down 7 times, and he was 6 for 7, and they won both of the games.
Yeah.
And this is just the point. Like, maybe he does it in the playoffs and it bites him, and that ends up being the reason that they lost. How many games can you look at throughout the course of the regular season and say, yeah, you maybe don't win that game if you punt it back to Jordan Love there? You just give him the ball back, and here you go. Jordan Love drives down the field and scores. Maybe you lose that game, and the outcome's different. I also like to switch the thinking to, because people do this with Lanning. After the Wisconsin game, it was, he's going to do this. It's going to cost him a big game. That was the takeaway of the fake field goal for a lot of people. And I chuckle at that because, yeah, there's absolutely the possibility it could happen. It's already happened.
We saw it against Washington.
We literally went for it in our own territory with Ty Thompson at quarterback 2 years ago and lost the game at all. That was not a fun outcome, right? But I love that that's our thinking instead of saying, what if he does it and it works and that wins him the game?
Yeah,
what if
that
he
wins
does
the
it
national
on
championship?
4th and whatever on his own 27-yard line in the NFC title game? He needs to ice the clock. The other team has no timeouts left. A first down, the game is over on his own 26.
And it's 4th and 2.
And he goes for it, and he gets it, and he takes it, and he goes to the Super Bowl because of it.
Yeah.
We always play the fearful negative scenario, not the, what if he does it and it works? What if he goes 4 for 5 in the NFC title game, and they win the game because of that?
I certainly don't want to sound like a hypocrite. Listeners probably point out many a time I do. I just always prefer my coach to operate the way he operates.
Yes.
He is, I can't remember what game it was, but I was watching a game not long ago, NFL college, can't remember, but like there was a moment where the clock is ticking down. They have a timeout. The other team has none. And the coach calls a timeout immediately. There's 28 seconds. And they're going for like a game-winning situation. And I'm like,
what are you doing?
why would you not take the clock all the way down and make it the last play the way they did at the end of the first half yesterday?
Right.
And I know that's such a little thing that a lot of coaches do, but also a lot of coaches don't. He's not only super hyper aggressive and has a core belief in his group, he's a smart coach. He really is a smart coach. So like I totally get both sides of those angles, those 4th down decisions. I just prefer, like, he is one of my favorite coaches in all of football. I just love everything he's about. I love his message. He gives all the credit in the world to his guys and his staff.
They love him in that locker room,
He's
man.
doing up-downs with them. He's the most football-centric, smart, rah-rah combination of everything that I love about that sport.
With a couple of really good coordinators.
He kind of embodied, even my guy, Kyle Shanahan, who I think is a genius offensively. How many times I've counted that he kicks a field goal on 4th and 2.
They turtles in those
and
moments.
I'm just like, buddy, you got the best. You know what I mean? Like, you're the genius, and you won't do it. Campbell just doesn't care, and I love that. I love that. Even if it ends up biting you, you're going to get criticism for it, but I still love it. I prefer it.
You got to love me at my best and love me at my worst, man. And when it works,
100%.
I love him. The only one that I was sitting at home saying was the one on the 30-yard. That was the only one I thought, that's aggressive. We'll see if it works.
Mighty aggressive. It cost him.
But I also I looked at their second half drive chart for Green Bay. They had 5 possessions and they scored 3 touchdowns and a field goal. They had 1 drive in the second half where they didn't score a point. And so his thought was they're shredding our defense right now. Let's try and keep our offense on the field. The last one I loved because the possible negative consequences you go to overtime.
Everybody on social media was saying, kick the field goal. What are you doing?
There was 45 seconds left, right? Am I right on my timing
like
there?
that.
So if you just kick the field goal there, that's like 2 completions for Jordan Love and a couple of spikes, and a dude can kick a 60-yarder, and you're going to overtime. You're 2 yards away. You can run the clock down, end the game potentially on that possession, and that's exactly what happened.
Fun game last night. Thursday Night Football was electric. The Lions win 34-31. They're 12-1 on the year.
That was an awesome game. It really was.
It was.
That was a really fun Thursday
Felt like
night
a playoff game.
It did. The atmosphere was great. I'm so happy for Detroit, man.
Isn't it great when Thursday Night Football teams have a full week off? They look better.
The product's actually pretty good, isn't it?
I know Bengals-Ravens was fun a couple weeks ago, but largely I like when these teams get a full week rest.
Yes.
They're gladiators, man.
Give them a bye week before.
It's just the way they coach, too. I mean, come on. You think Mike Tomlin, even if he got a week off, he'd actually care about a Thursday night football game? He'd be looking ahead, be like, nope, I like that week and a half between my Thursday and Sunday game after my Thursday game. No, Dan Campbell goes into every game like it's his last, and that's why the Lions won.
12-1 on the year, the Detroit Lions. We'll Sprague the line at 8:30 today. A lot of college football on the docket this weekend. Dirt and Sprague back with more, but first, Schultze with a sports update.
This is Big Ten Championship Week with Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, the Detroit Lions winning a barn burner on Thursday Night Football over the Green Bay Packers in an NFC North showdown, 34-31 the final. Jared Goff throwing for 283 yards and 3 tutties. Did throw an interception in the second half that allowed Green Bay to take the lead, but Detroit converting a late 4th down that helped them hold on for a game-winning Jake Bates field goal. The 12-1 Lions clinching a playoff berth with a win. The Portland Trailblazers back in action tonight, hosting the Utah Jazz. They are actually a favorite by 2.5 points, if you can believe it. Donovan Clingan, Robert Williams III, Matisse Thybulle out, Scoot Henderson questionable with a quad contusion. Tip-off set for 7 p.m. on KATU Charge, Channel 2.2. In college football, multiple reports stating that North Carolina interviewing former Patriots head coach Bill Belichick for their head coaching vacancy. The 72-year-old Belichick reportedly wants to coach again and is open to considering jobs in college and the NFL. And New Mexico State head coach Bronco Mendenhall has left the Lobos to become the head coach at Utah State on a 6-year deal. Mendenhall led New Mexico to a 5-7 record this season. Also coached at BYU in Virginia from 2005 up until 2021. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Schultze at the 1080 The Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Jump back to earlier parts of your favorite fan shows on the Odyssey app. The only way to rewind Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan.
Auto accident? Worried about your deductible? Don't. Before you file a claim,
Dirt and Sprague
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
on 1080 The Fan.
They've only won this way or that way on a block kick, and they only win by 1, 2, 3.
I can't quit my takes.
Merry Christmas from Alvin and the Chipmunks, ladies and G's.
Ho, ho.
I can't quit my takes.
I can't quit my takes.
I can't quit my takes.
Nope. Can't do it. You
The
gotta
whole
stand
show
by your
was
takes.
Chipmunk this morning.
Oh, it was last night, too.
It was a great.
Happened Monday as well.
God, where did this go? I just
It's my fault. I was here.
No, it happened with Swag.
No, yeah,
It wasn't our
that's
fault.
not
Okay,
your
good.
fault, Schultz. There was a tweet going viral from Colin in 2021. Now,
Uh-huh.
we all have bad takes, and Lord knows I was not the biggest Man Campbell guy when they hired him.
Oh, we played the audio. We clearly made fun of
Oh,
him
it's-
like everybody else did.
They hired PC Principal to be their head coach. This is not
Yeah,
going to
I
end
remember
well.
us saying
Oh,
that.
yeah.
And Colin tweeted, if you're looking for winners and losers in tonight's trade, consider this. Jared Goff goes from Sean McVay to Fred Flintstone.
Wow!
I mean,
Yabba dabba doo.
we were all there. That's how we all felt when they hired him. It was the Lions. He didn't give them a benefit of the doubt. They didn't deserve it.
Yeah, man, nobody could have turned around the reputation more than that guy. We played his locker room speech during the commercial break. My God.
I would run through a brick wall for him. Somebody had a great tweet last night, too, that basically was like, look, this is the Lions. You don't just win with the Lions
Yes.
by doing the same old stuff. They never win. You got to do it different, and he's doing it differently.
I think we've done this poll question on the Twitter page we have, Dirt and Sprague. Who would America, if we voted in America, every American had to vote that watched football, who would win the vote of who you root for in the Super Bowl and your fandom's not allowed? So Detroit and Buffalo are out. Bills or Lions? Who do non-Lions and non-Bills fans pull for in a hypothetical Super Bowl there?
That is so hard.
Heartbreak City 4 straight years
Yeah.
or never done it?
Never been.
Never
ever.
been, never been relevant.
I think I would lean Detroit.
You want a fun fact? Buffalo from 90, what was it? They went like 30 straight years of no division, and they've won 5 straight now.
Yeah,
Like they've also went through a real lull period there in the Brady Belichick era,
they did.
and the Lions have been, bags over your head.
They had one of the longest playoff droughts. I remember when Tyrod Taylor got them there,
Yes.
and they finally ended their playoff drought. And I think that kicked it then to the Mariners having I think the Bills were like the previous holder.
I think the Mariners
you're
were.
right.
and then they won,
yeah.
and they got there, and then it became the Mariners the longest drought, and then the Mariners made it a couple
Now
of
it's
years
the
ago.
Browns.
And now it's the Brownies. I think I
Is
would
it
lean.
really the Browns in all of sports?
No, it can't be the
Baker
Browns.
no,
was in
sorry,
and
no,
he
that-
beat Tomlin.
Yeah.
They were just there a couple
God,
years
what?
ago.
They were there last year.
What am I thinking?
They
of?
were just-
I
yeah,
just heard no,
touche.
and I just heard this stat like a day ago.
We'll look
Wasn't
it
the
up.
Brownies.
I'll look it up.
I'll look it up. I think I would lean Detroit though.
You'd lean Detroit.
Lean. It's one of those. I'm
You love Josh
totally
Allen, though.
fence riding. I do love Josh Allen.
God.
Uh,
How many tables would get broken in Buffalo?
It would be a beautiful game because there's not often where you watch a Super Bowl and I am genuinely thrilled either way.
Because both teams are going to do dumb things.
Yes.
And both teams are going to do awesome things.
we
And
have a tie.
both sides seem very likable.
They do, yes. We have a tie between the New York Jets
Yeah, that's who it
touche.
was.
at 13 years. So the last time was their second AFC title run with Mark Sanchez and
Butt fumble.
butt fumble. And then the Buffalo Sabres also at 13 years in the NHL.
Ah, the
so you have
Fighting Hashiks.
professional sports. Then it's the Angels at 10, Pirates at 9.
The Angels are going to win this.
Hornets at 8, Red Wings at 8, Broncos at 8. So
Red
those are your
Wings?
longest streaks.
Red Wings are, oh my God.
Number 2 in the NHL. Hornets are the longest. Not making the playoffs for 8 years in the NBA is the entire league makes the playoffs. And they got play-in now, too. What are we
I
doing?
highly doubt you're going to get to this. We're going to
Uh-huh.
dive in. I'm going to dive in head first into college football coming up here. I doubt you had this on your show sheet to bring up.
Probably not.
Did you read or see any of this Woj interview?
I did see that, yeah.
I thought there was a lot of like next level thinking that I appreciate, and also like, dude, you kind of created the monster. It's a weird thing to be out on it. Woj did a sit down interview with Mannix, and I'll read a blurb. Woj retired for health reasons and scheduling reasons, and in it, Mannix writes, in May, Woj traveled to Arkansas for a memorial for Chris Mortensen, the longtime NFL insider who died in March from throat cancer. Mortensen spent more than 3 decades at ESPN. When Woj arrived in Bristol in 2017, Mortensen was among the first to welcome him back. Many ESPNers made the trip to Arkansas. What Woj was struck by was how many did not. Quote, it made me remember that the job isn't everything. In the end, it's just going to be your family and close friends. And it's also like nobody gives an S. Nobody remembers breaking stories in the end.
Yeah.
It's just vapor. End quote.
It's just vapor.
Somebody that
All
gets
we are is dust in the wind, man.
Somebody that literally gets millions of views a tweet. Like, he puts it into very good perspective.
Yeah, I mean, that should be everybody's philosophy on life.
Well, if you're an ESPN exec, aren't you just thinking, well, first of all, you should already thought this, but like, aren't you just like, we just gave Shams God knows how much money
to break news on
be
a
first on
hamstring
Twitter.
injury. Yes.
Rizful
He's not going to
John
play
Shiraya.
tonight. He will not be in the lineup.
Well, do we have evidence that when he gets on a broadcast, like, because in our little stupid bubble, eyeballs and ears and clicks and all that, like, all that stuff matters. So I'm just like, aside from a tweet, is there actual evidence that people get pulled to the TV to watch Shams? Like, you can make fun of Stephen A all you want. He's going to get $120 million. People watch. You don't have to like it. He's entertaining. Do people care to watch or listen to Shams, Sharania?
I don't think so, no. I don't know if anybody ever really even cared to listen to what Woj had to say.
So
he was just about breaking news.
So you're paying for a tweet.
You're paying for a tweet.
Millions
and the
of
access.
dollars.
Yeah, you're paying
And
for all his
access
connections.
It's
and
not access, man. It's agent spin. It's GM spin.
But it's access.
not real access.
I can't get those access. Like, I
Yeah,
can't
you
get
can.
those text
Wait
messages.
5 minutes, you get the press release.
Yeah, the team will send it out.
I mean, that's all this is.
My sources confirm. Should start that trend. Just breaking the news. After the breaking news, you could become one of those guys in the sports world.
I don't know. I know he's got some clarity in his life now, and it took him a long time to get to that clarity. I found that interview fascinating. And just like, we still are paying newsbreakers as if like it really matters that much.
Yes, that the team press release will not come out 5 minutes later.
Did anyone notice, too, after Woj initially announced his retirement, ESPN had, like, a staffer that I think he had been on the air like a producer a little bit, and he announced that he was going to be taking over for Woj. And then all of a sudden, like, nobody talked about him after this, like, big old announcement on Twitter with a couple million views. And then they're like, a week later, Shams is coming in. I felt kind of bad. Like, it's
whoever that guy was.
Yeah, whoever that guy is, I don't even remember his name. It's just a good representation of how this business chews you up and spits you out. And Woj himself is like, yeah.
Yeah, man, it's hard. Like, once you're in the limelight and you get some attention and eyeballs and it's hard to walk away from it, man. Like, fame and attention and all that is an addictive drug for a lot of people. I respect the hell out of him. He got diagnosed with prostate cancer. Part of the reason he started thinking about it, then the Mortensen funeral that you mentioned there in the blurb. And he's like, dude, you know what? What am I doing? I want to see my family. I'm set financially for life. I love college basketball. I'm going to go work for the Bonnies. I'm out, man. I don't need to do this anymore.
Let's dive headfirst into the college football conference championship slate. There's a lot to discuss. Dirt and Sprague back with that on 1080 The Fan.
The Fan. with Dirt and Sprague
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
on 1080 The Fan.
We operate in sports largely with narratives forming opinion. And sometimes people are powerful enough to give an opinion, and people are so devout to that person that they will then form the same opinion based on that person's opinion. And I'm asking sincerely, Big Ten title game is tomorrow, Dirt. 5 o'clock Pacific.
5 o'clock, right here.
CBS.
Right here on the Fan. Pregame will be 1 to 3.
Nestler and Danielson.
You can hear me live on
Jorgie
the air
and
watching the SEC title game while doing a pregame show.
What is the narrative Monday on Dan Lanning if he loses this game? Because there has been a little bit of redemption for old Daniel Lanning this year of undefeated, Big Ten title game year one, vanquished the Huskies finally.
Yeah.
But also it feels like he has gotten a little more than other coaches in college football of he beat Ohio State this year at Autzen Stadium.
That he did.
And it seems like it's shifted a little bit of like, hey, Dan Lanning in a big game, he conquered those demons. And I say, well, he conquered the game. Do we do that with other coaches in college football? Like James Franklin, his record against Michigan, Ohio State, for example, is like 4-16 or something.
It's not very good.
But that's 4 wins. Ryan Day only has lost to Michigan and Oregon as a coach.
Yes.
In the regular season. And so he's the biggest loser in the world. What is the opinion Monday we come in if the Ducks don't win the Big Ten title game and they lose to Penn State?
This is the weird thing about the expanded playoff, and it kind of goes into where my mind is at as a fan. I don't know if there's a big negative takeaway. Like maybe I'm wrong on that, but the guy just wrapped up the only undefeated regular season in college football this year, 12-0. In the Big Ten title game, the first year in the conference. They will at worst be the 5 seed in the college football playoff if they lose this weekend. Like, I think it would be totally different if we lived in a 4-team window. This is why it's unique for coaches. Franklin is a prime example of this. He lost his biggest game of the year. Had horrible play calls in that game. They were kind of lucky to be in it with only a 1-score game, if we're being honest. They lost. Everybody wanted to fire him out for that. And now Penn State's 11-1, and they're locked to make the college football playoff in an expanded format. If this was the 4-team field, you lose this weekend, let's say like Texas wins and some of these other, Notre Dame would be in, Penn State would be in, and that would potentially bounce you a la Georgia a year ago, who was undefeated in the regular season, lost to Alabama in the SEC title game, and they didn't make the playoff. Then I think you would have a lot of that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're going to have, maybe you will. Maybe some corners will come out and say, oh, there's Lanning in a big game. And I'm sure if there's a 4th down call in the game, that will lead more to it. But I think it's all right, well, you lost. How do you recover? Now you got to play in 2 weeks against whoever the 12 seed is in the playoff.
I found him yesterday, and this is not in any way an indictment of them. I felt like listening to him on primetime, he sounded like somebody exhausted.
He needs some sleep.
Recruiting, the signing day period, the portal is looming. He's coaching a rivalry game that clearly he exerts a lot of energy in these games. If you watch these Ducks versus them videos, practice all week. Then, hey, you just beat Washington for the first time. Now, shut up and get ready for the Big Ten title game. Now it's Penn State film. He just sounded exhausted. I was wondering, though, losing to Penn State, that's where I wonder what the narrative is Monday for people with him. Because
they have that narrative coming in that they can't win games like this.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's the team that everybody looks at and says, well, I mean, Penn State can't beat Ohio State, Michigan. They should be able to beat Oregon.
Right.
And then if Penn State beats Oregon, it's going to be, well, did Lanning get lucky against Ohio State?
If he would have slid 1 second earlier.
I'm just asking, what is the narrative if they don't win that game? And you know that it's kind of a turn and burn in the playoff, but that's how that is. It's so weird the way we do it, but we still do it. That narratives get formed really quickly.
Well, to the note on Penn State, some of the stats on them going in, they have lost 13 straight games, not counting random bowl game wins here or there, like, conference championship or regular season games. They have lost 13 in a row against top 10 opponents.
Yeah.
And then James Franklin's
been very bad
last
against
15 games against top 10 teams, they were 1-14 in those games.
Are you cocky sniffing this week? It's kind of had an air
so.
of it, but you're not like out with it.
There's a quiet confidence. I'm not cocky sniffing. I think Penn State's a really good team at the line of scrimmage. They're probably the best team at the line of scrimmage that not probably. They are since Ohio State. they have their weaknesses in big games. Franklin has his weaknesses, so I really like Oregon's chances to win this weekend. But I'm not going in and it's going to be a bloodbath or a blowout. They got a ton of talent, a ton of NFL dudes all over the roster, and Oregon has shown that they sometimes will let teams hang around and maybe get clunky offensively here or there. So no, not a cocky sniff, a quiet confidence going into the game.
We have a very random ticker stop today, but it'll make sense when we explain it. We got conference championships, other conference championships to get into. Dan Lanning gave some thoughts on Penn State. We have a loaded second hour of the program. I'm going to carry over something Dirt just said there about Oregon, Penn State this weekend that I want to get to. Hour number 2, Dirt and Sprague on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and 1080 The Fan.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm. An important message about your timeshare from Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group.
If you receive an unsolicited phone call
This time it's all on the line.
Gabriel with a snap from under center, rolling to his left. Wants to keep, now wants to throw, got him open. In the end zone, touchdown. Terrence Ferguson was behind everybody. I thought Gabriel was going to run it. He really sold that because the Huskies just did not stay back.
This is a Big Ten Championship Week edition of Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here. Online at modspdx.com.
Dirt and Sprague on the Odyssey app and 1080.
I think it's unique to be able to get talent to play together the way that our guys play.
The Fan.
All right, welcome back in. Hour 2. Dirt and Sprague on the Fan. The Odyssey app. 99.5 HD2 and youtube.com/1080 AM The Fan. We have a lot to get to in the second hour of the program. There was a legendary football coach who yesterday we found out reportedly interviewed for a vacant college football job.
That he did.
Wow. You know, I heard a lot about how old Joe Biden was. We can't have an old president. And then we elected a 78-year-old man. And I thought, did we care about age, or was that just one side of age?
Yeah, just one side of age.
North Carolina hiring Belichick is fascinating.
On the heels of Mac Brown being their head coach.
I don't know if that was a mutual beneficial report, like, hey, let us say we interviewed you so we look really good, and then, your name will be out as a job interviewee, and so other teams will get a little jealous.
Look at that. People are interviewing Belichick. I can't believe it.
Hard to get a lot of people at conference title games, so we're going to go to Chapel Hill. I want to know if they're really going to hire Bill Belichick.
I am praying that it happens, man. Can we somehow, I want Dion to stay at Colorado,
yes.
Give me Belichick at North Carolina,
and
give me a North Carolina-Colorado bowl game. Or a non-conference game. Or
Dion versus
Dion
Belichick.
versus
I like
Belichick.
That.
Yes. Make college football more interesting. Belichick would definitely do that.
Is that the Lions-Bills Super Bowl that we want?
Yeah. Who do you root for in that game, Belichick or Dion?
Somebody had hit us up on Blue Sky and basically had said, now, after all this talk, imagine Kansas City steamrolls Buffalo and Detroit, wins the Super Bowl. And I said, I think I might quit the NFL if they win again.
That's going to happen, man. Just brace yourself.
I am.
They're going to win it again. Nobody can beat them.
We'll hear from Dan Lanning in a minute. I was thinking about something you said at the end of hour 1, and we'll get to some of the other conference championship games as well. Obviously, a big slate of college football this weekend. We'll dabble in the NFL. We'll Sprague the line as well.
Yes.
Get the Sprague the line sponsors into the Vancouver Ford text line at 503-864-6326. They treat you right before, during, and after the sale. Visit them at vancouverford.com. One reason I have a hard time seeing Penn State, and I was disappointed in you yesterday, by the way.
What did I do yesterday?
You didn't do your big peepee.
I know. We'll get to it today because it's only one game. It's not really a full segment.
I disagree. You need to sub the big peepee out, call it the big peepee. We need to do conference championship game big
Oh,
peepees.
you want to do all the games?
Yeah, why not?
Oh, okay.
It's
we could do that.
title game weekend.
All right, I'm okay with that.
I have a hard time seeing Oregon lose. Carter's amazing, right? Singleton, Warren, we've heard all of this all week. I have a hard time seeing Oregon lose because I just cannot see in my brain Drew Aller being awesome and beating Oregon.
Yeah.
And hold it for Monday, because come Monday, maybe Aller throws 330, 2 tuts, no picks, he's efficient. And I'm sitting here going, well, that was the best game I've ever seen Drew Aller play. Even in their comeback win against USC, he had 3 picks. He was awful in that game. That was the Tyler Warren game. And so I cannot, in good conscience, say that I think Penn State wins, because I just cannot see their quarterback being stellar and awesome in this game. I haven't really seen it almost ever. He's been good. I don't know if I can say I've ever seen him be great. And I just don't see that happening this weekend.
Yeah, the 2 ranked games that they played this year, they beat Illinois 21-7 and obviously lost to Ohio State at home. In those 2 games, now they were a little banged up at running back going into the Ohio State game, so to be fair to him there, he was 12 of 20 for 146 yards and a pick against Ohio State, and against Illinois, he was 15 of 21 for 135 yards. And so the numbers don't really.
His Michigan box score last year.
I'll go pull that. I mean, he was, I remember, not very good. Michigan ran the ball like 74 straight times in the second half of that game in order to win. And Michigan could do that to a lot of folks. They were a dominant team, and they went on to win a national championship last year. It's funny that you mentioned Aller, because one of the reasons that there's a quiet confidence for me going into this game, it's not necessarily just Aller, although that is a part of the equation for me. These are the kind of games and why I got so excited when you brought in Dylan Gabriel. I made the comment earlier this year that there's not a quarterback in a big game that I would rather have than Gabriel. Now, you want to throw like a Cam Ward at me, that's fine. He's not playing any more big games. They're not going to a conference title game. They're not going to the playoffs. So he's done playing big games. If I look at the collection of guys who are alive in conference titles and in the playoff race, there's not a quarterback in the country that I would rather have leading my team than him.
He's the best in this.
To me, he is a gamer. He comes up with clutch throws. He comes up with clutch plays. You can replay the Ohio State game in your mind a ton of times and all the big throws that he made in that game, the big run late in that game in order to give him a go-ahead touchdown on the zone read where he kept it and totally caught Ohio State's defense off guard. He has moments where I think against lesser opponents, he makes throws or plays that you think, what the hell, what were you doing there? But he hasn't had one of those throws or plays in a while now. And when they've needed him to be at his best in big-time situations, whether it's to a 4th and 9 on the road at Wisconsin, whether it was the entire game against Ohio State, whether it's you're in a dogfight against Boise and you need to put together a drive, he has done it and answered the bell every single time. And so part of the reason that I am confident in Oregon this weekend, yes, is that I think Allard is a good quarterback. I don't know how he is viewed as an NFL guy. He's big body, strong arm, and all that. I know they're not elite on the outside, so maybe it translates to the NFL level for him. There's just a confidence in what Dylan Gabriel can bring, and I think it's a massive advantage for Oregon in this game this weekend.
Well, he was the number one quarterback. Penn State grabbed him. He started as a freshman. This is year 3. And he's thrown for 2,600 yards, 18 tuds, 5 picks. By the way,
I don't believe he started as a freshman. I think they played him.
Well, he came in eventually.
Yeah, they kind of gave him some minutes and some snaps here or there.
He threw for 70 yards against Michigan last year.
Yeah, Michigan had dominant defense.
No, I know, but
yes,
you have to comp Oregon to it, and not that they'll win it the way Michigan won it. Yep. And certainly the expanded playoff is going to change some of this, but you just have to look at the talent profile and say, like, Oregon may not be as good as that Michigan team was, but talent-wise, comping what Penn State faces on a regular basis, this is as close as they get. And that was last year. So maybe this year he'll prove us wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Aller has a thing to me where it's a lot of like 180, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, 51 completion percentage. Like that's just kind of what I see in my brain with Drew Aller.
Not taking over a game and dominating.
Well, like that Michigan final was 24-15. I feel like it's going to be kind of similar, maybe 27-15, just something kind of weird. A lot of field goals for Penn State.
Low scoring. Their defense is good. It's going to be a low-scoring game.
Good. Yeah, but like if Oregon get to 24-27, I won't bat an eye at that.
You feel good about winning if you get to that number.
I would actually not even just use Ohio State as your Gabriel reason, right? Like Gabriel, I'm going through this. The Cam Ward one's funny, and it's not that he's not good. We know he's great. I don't know how many games we have evidence to put Cam Ward in this conversation of the big game stuff. He had a couple upsets at Washington State, but other than that,
it's a smaller sample size.
You go through the playoff quarterbacks that are potentially looming in the playoff, and I don't think I can disagree with you. Maybe people think Quinn Ewers, if they beat Georgia this weekend, is one of those.
He hasn't been very good this year. Beck and Ewers came in higher rated than Gabriel did,
Certainly.
But both of them have had very disappointing seasons.
But the game I would actually highlight is Wisconsin, where their offense sucked. Wisconsin had pulled them down into a style of football they wanted them to play.
Yeah, no Tez.
And even in the game where they're not playing well, there's no Tez Johnson. Ferguson's banged up a little bit in that game. 4th and 9. That's the play you highlight, right? Like Ohio State, he obviously made some big throws. They moved the ball down the field. The explosive plays were going. I point to the Wisconsin game because that might be what one of the playoff games is. Good team faces you. You're struggling a little bit. Your defense is keeping you in it. It's a very low scoring affair. Now it's a pivotal 4th and 7. Does Lanning want to try a 53-yarder? Does he want to punt? Does he want to go for it? Well, I got Dylan Gabriel. And even when my offense is struggling, he can roll out, boom, 4th and 9, pick up. There you go, Terrence Ferguson. Move the chains. There's not a lot of quarterbacks in this playoff conversation that I don't know you point to and say, that right there. Ohio State's a great win. The Wisconsin game is what I'd highlight because when they needed to make the play, they seemingly made the play, whether that's with Gabriel or the offensive line in the run game.
Yeah, I think one of the keys for both quarterbacks, probably more so Penn State, just because of this conversation that we're having, is their ability to run the ball on early downs and not put Drew Aller in situations where I genuinely believe Oregon has one of the best pass rushes in the country. They're coming off a game with 10 sacks. They're loaded on the defensive line. That's been the case for them all year, and they can come at you in waves, and they can come at you in different ways. Penn State has a question mark at right tackle. The right tackle's been out, I think, for a chunk of the year, banged up, so they've been kind of rotating bodies at that position. That is a major weakness for them. And if you make Drew Aller live in a lot of 3rd and 6 and 3rd and 7 situations, I love Oregon's chances to win this game. But it comes down to Singleton and Allen are two really good backs. Singleton on the year is averaging over 6 yards a carry. Allen's over 4.
Goes under the radar.
Under the radar. They got a two-headed monster at running back that Ohio State was able to stymie those guys. Now, I believe they were both a little banged up going into the game, and they feel healthier now. But Ohio State was able to basically take away Penn State's run game, and that made Drew Aller really uncomfortable. And then you put him in passing situations where essentially they have one target. I mean, if we're being fair to Penn State, Tyler Warren is one of the best weapons in the country, might be the best player in all of college football. That guy's a beast. They can line him up in a million different ways. That's the one guy you got to circle and stop. Outside of him, there's nobody that really scares you in Penn State's passing game. And so if you can force them to live in obvious passing situations and say, okay, let's bracket Tyler Warren and try and take him out. Somebody else beat us one-on-one. Nico Reed, Jabbar Muhammad, you're going to go one-on-one against wide receivers that you should be able to slow down. That's where Oregon's defense wants to live. But if you let them keep getting downhill and it's 3rd and 2, 3rd and 1, 3rd and 3 the entire game, they have the threat of being balanced on 3rd down. That's when it becomes far more challenging because then they could just line up Tyler Warren and the Wildcat, fall forward for 2 yards, and you're picking up first downs.
Hugely physical game is what we know we're going to see on Saturday. Katron Allen in early November was asked, hey, what kind of style of play do you like? And he said, quote, I prefer running through somebody. And I cannot wait to watch these two. I don't know.
It's going to be a slabanaka. Is that what you're telling me?
There's a physical nature. Penn State, we know is physical. They just haven't proven they're physical enough to beat the other very physical teams.
Yeah.
And largely that's just been Ohio State, Michigan in that conference. Well, here comes Oregon now, undefeated. They've got debatably the best defensive front in that conference, if not the best defensive front in that conference with Birch, Harmon, Uiagalelei. Like, that is a stout group. Penn State, they talk a big game. They love the physicality. I cannot wait to watch this because is Oregon going to be Ohio State, Michigan for Penn State again? I think a lot of Duck fans would say, yes, we already are. And I can't really disagree with the thought. But this is a little bit of like Penn State hasn't experienced it yet. They've experienced Ohio State. They've experienced Michigan. Oregon and Penn State have not played since the mid-'90s. And now you've got two coaches, one of which is hyper-aggressive and a psycho, and the other one is a good coach, but largely cannot beat teams like this. Let's hear from Dan Lanning on the other side. He was on with Primetime yesterday. We'll get some Dan Lanning stuff. We got Andrew Jones, who covers North Carolina for their Rivals website. Is Bill Belichick going to be in Chapel Hill? And then we'll dive into the other conference championship games. We got Sprague the line at 8:30, a little NFL. Dirt and Sprague back with more with Dan Lanning audio next on The Fan.
The Herd with Colin Coward.
This is Big Ten Championship Week with Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
On 1080 The Fan.
All right, welcome back in. Andrew Jones covers North Carolina for Heels Illustrated. Are they going to hire Bill Belichick?
He should also be in the Hall of Fame. What are we doing?
Who?
Oh, wait, different Andrew Jones. Sorry. I don't know if you got Braves Andrew Jones on me. I don't know which Andrew Jones we're going with here at 7:30.
I think this is his last year on the ballot.
This is it, like this upcoming ballot, whenever it is?
But they did this to my guy Fred McGriff. He never got voted in, and then eventually they do that, like...
Veterans Committee
Yeah, Veterans Committee gets you in, and now McGriff is... Like, this may be what Andrew Jones is.
Well, McGriff wasn't fair. That was an old school. He was 7 short of 500
He was
home
3.
runs, so we're not...
He was 3.
Was he really?
497.
I thought he was 493. That's
Why
crazy.
didn't he go Bernie Mac, Mr. 3000, and just like...
He tried.
Can we just sign this guy for 2 weeks until he hits 3 home runs?
He tried.
In a blowout game, let him hit like a fly ball into the outfield, let it fall, let him run around the bases, give him an inside-the-park home run. The guy deserves it.
You don't need to get me on a rant about Braves propaganda because I'll do it. Andrew Jones is not, without a doubt, he is a Major League Baseball Hall of Famer.
Yes, he is.
You cannot win 10 straight Gold Gloves and debatably be the best defensive center fielder of all time and not be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
I know what you're going to say.
I'll let you go. I'll let you rant.
I digress.
He's cooking right now. Let him finish.
Let me cook. 213 career average. We'll Sprague the line at 8:30, so about an hour from now we'll get to it. Dirt is 0-1.
Hey, a tie feels like a win for me right now, baby. We're off to a good start this week. I didn't lose any money last night. Progress.
It's a good poll question.
Yes.
Are you having a bad year when a tie feels like a win in gambling?
Yes.
Yes, you
are.
are.
Yes, it does. It feels great, man.
Dan Lanning, who we mentioned yesterday, just seemed beat. You know?
It's a long week. The calendar makes no sense. Having signing day the week of conference title games is one of the dumbest things you could possibly do.
There's usually great conversation every week, but he just yesterday, he sounded exhausted.
He did have a funny moment where Rob asked him
the quarterback
right?
Yeah.
thing, and he was like, "You want me to put Dylan Gabriel in there on defense?" He was like, "Well, they never see that coming."
Well, and then I heard it as quarterback again when he said your defensive quarterback, but
Yes.
he may have been saying cornerback.
But
Lanning heard him like, I guess we're
I think he was trying to say coordinator. I don't know if I've ever heard somebody call a defensive coordinator the quarterback of your defense.
I didn't know if he was talking about Bassa or... Anyways, I
Yes.
digress. Lanning heard it the other way again and was like, well, what are we doing?
Yeah.
You know, he just seemed tired.
He did.
But Lanning was talking about it. You can find the podcast, of course, at 1080thefan.com. He was asked about Penn State.
There's not a lot of teams that what they do offensively is very unique and different. So I don't think we've seen anybody this year that looked quite like them. Just a variety of formations, how they utilize their personnel. It's a little bit different.
We've also talked about Carter on the defensive line, Singleton coming back at the running back position. Tyler Warren is, just an absolute stud.
Mm-hmm.
They asked Dan Lanning about scheming against specific players. I believe this was the question. Basically, do you bracket somebody over a Tyler Warren and you just single him out specifically, but in a way you kind of do. And they asked Lanning about that.
Well, I think you always want to be aware of where people are at when you talk about team strengths. What makes it harder about how Penn State does it is that guy plays so many different positions and moves around the field. So you can't just say, okay, I'm going to line up my best corner on Tyler Warren. Well, then he's lined up the next play at running back or quarterback in the backfield and catching a snap. So this doesn't work like that. And that's probably what makes them more challenging is that they move their personnel around a lot.
If Penn State and Aller are struggling, I really hope there's a play that Franklin has where Tyler Warren snaps it to himself,
throws it
in the air like we used to do as little kids.
Backyard. Here we go.
Runs under it. Oh my God, he's gonna
run
score.
A fade. Tyler, run a fade. He's gonna make a play.
How many touchdowns did you throw to yourself?
Oh, millions.
From ages 8 to 10, either in the street or in your backyard. Probably like 50 a season, right?
Dominant. There's nobody better backyard football than me.
Nobody
dominant
threw a better
performances.
spiral to myself.
No, just everything was right on the money. Diving catches, never dropped the ball. Dominance.
I really do believe this. We'll have to see what the box score will tell us on Saturday, but I cannot imagine a world where Taj Lapoy and Dan Lanning and that defensive group limit him. Stop him? Probably not. Now, if he has a big game, like that won't shock me either because he's a stud. But I just think if you kind of take that away, They don't have a whole lot offensively that
No.
is really troubling for Oregon, at least on paper. And
It's
what
not
we've
like
seen.
Ohio State where it's Jeremiah Smith and all these
Egbuka,
Egbuka and Henderson,
Tate and
Junkins.
Henderson.
Yeah.
Yes, there's not like that laundry list of guys.
Weapons up and down the field. I think it goes back to, though, him mentioning how you stop Warren, what I was talking about in the last segment, and that is when you allow them to be multiple in terms of what they can call, that's when it's really difficult because he's incredibly talented. And so if they're in a lot of 3rd and 2 situations, are you going to toss it to him? Are you going to run a little tight end screen? Are you going to line him up at the Wildcat? Are you going to hand the ball off to him? Like, you can use him in so many different ways, and they do use him in so many different ways. That's where it's really incumbent on Oregon's defense to force them into those 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8 situations, because then you're not running Wildcat with Tyler Warren on 3rd and 8, right? Like, they're going to try and throw him the ball. That's fine, but he's lined up somewhere. I can have a linebacker on him. I can have a safety bracketing him, and that makes it a little more challenging to get him the football, and then it's one-on-one on the outside, and you love those matchups with your corners in those spots. Lanning talked about this yesterday, too. And it's a blanket statement that you could write on any football game, but the big ones, it especially matters in terms of momentums and swings. Explosive plays are huge. And when Penn State has gotten into these games, you mentioned the Michigan game last year and what Aller did. Explosive plays are basically categorized as gains of 20 yards or more on one play.
Yes.
You know how many explosive plays the Penn State offense had against Michigan last year?
Well, I mean, based on Aller's box score, I'd say 0.
They had one.
Okay.
Katron Allen had a 34-yard
long
run. That was the only one. Their longest reception of the game was a Tyler Warren throw of 19 yards. That was it. Against Ohio State earlier this year when they lost 20-13 without scoring an offensive touchdown. Remember, their touchdown was a pick 6 that Will Howard threw. They had a total of 3. Tyler Warren had a long run that set him up on that goal line stand. Remember that 33-yarder that set him up like inside the 5-yard line. Tyler Warren also had a 31-yard catch, and then Harrison Wallace had a 24-yard catch. They had 3 explosive plays the entire game. And so that is one of those advantages in an area that the Oregon offense has been able to live in big games, whether it's Dylan Gabriel throwing a little, slant to Tez Johnson, and he takes it 25 yards, or some of the deep shots down the field, or Jordan James breaking a run. I think they have a real big advantage in that category. And I think that's the one thing you want to keep you want to hold Penn State accountable there, because they have really struggled to create explosive plays in big games over the last couple of years. So don't let them have these big chunk plays offensively.
Speaking of big explosive plays, in just the 20-yard minimal criteria for explosive plays, Penn State has one more than Oregon on the season.
Interesting.
44-43. Everything else, Oregon obliterates them. 30 yards, they've got 7 more. 40 yards, they've got 4 more. 50 yards, they got 2 more. 60 yards, they've got 4 more. 4-0, by the way. So,
and I would point to the biggest game that they played in the advantage there. How many 20-yard gains did Oregon have against Ohio State in that matchup? How many bombs down the field? It completely swung the game, and Penn State could not do it against an elite
Stewart
defense.
had, what, 2 touchdowns in that game? And
Tez had a bomb touchdown. Gabriel had a 30-yard touchdown run. They created explosives left and right.
And then you go just 10-plus yards, Oregon has 8 more on the year. So just picking up a first down, which doesn't count as explosive, but that's still, you pick up 10 yards. You're moving the chains. You're feeling good about it. So largely, Oregon is far more explosive just on the year, and I think some of that is, maybe scheduling opponents, all that. Not that Oregon's schedule was brutal, but
Tyler Warren had about 20 of those himself against USC, man.
Well, yeah, he did.
It was a walking explosive play every snap against the Trojans.
Well, and I know Michigan's down. Michigan just beat Ohio State in Ohio State. You know who played Michigan and didn't play Michigan? So, there's we're splitting hairs on schedule stuff because I don't think Oregon's schedule was all that difficult, but they did face Michigan, and so that's going to count for some. Let's take a break from this. We'll pause Big Ten title game talk. We've done a lot of it. We talked about it all week. We'll Sprague the line an hour from now. We'll get to the other conference championship games this weekend. Coming up next, how do you upgrade from a 24-year-old? Maybe you go to an 18-year-old. And is Bill Belichick really interviewing for North Carolina because he's tired of the Manning cast? Andrew Jones covers North Carolina. We're going to go to Chapel Hill and get his thoughts in the ACC title game. So we'll go there next. Daily Ticker on the Fan.
This is Big Ten Championship Week with Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, the Detroit Lions winning a barn burner on Thursday Night Football in an NFC North showdown against the Green Bay Packers. 34-31 the final. Jared Goff throwing for 3 touchdowns. Did also throw an interception in the second half that allowed Green Bay to get a lead, but Dan Campbell showing some cojones. They called a fourth down conversion that helps Detroit hold on for a game-winning Jake Bates field goal. The 12-1 Lions clinching a playoff berth with that win. On to the association, the Blazers back in action tonight, hosting the Utah Jazz as a 2.5-point favorite. No Donovan Clingan, Robert Williams III, or Matisse Thybulle. Scoot Henderson questionable with a quad contusion. Tip-off set for 7 p.m. on KATU Charge Channel 2.2. And don't miss the Pilots tonight on the college hardwood. They're on the road taking on Kent State as a 12.5-point underdog. Coverage starts over on 910 ESPN at 3:30. Tip-off at 4 on ESPN+. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Schulte at the 1080 The Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Jump back to earlier parts of your favorite fan shows on the Odyssey app. The only way to rewind Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan.
Your business needs a network it can count on.
Power's out.
Comcast Business has you covered with Wi-Fi backup to help keep your business up and running, even when your power goes out.
Everybody in the warehouse good? Lights are out, but the Wi-Fi's up. Let's
sports. Some stories can slip through the cracks.
Now, before we do this, let's go over the ground rules.
Pelican Brewing presents the Daily Ticker, where Dirt and Sprague hit the big stories you've heard about, and some you haven't.
How'd you do that? Actually, I'm not even mad. It's amazing.
The Daily Ticker with Dirt and Sprague is poured by Pelican Brewing. Celebrate the season with a Northwest tradition, Bad Santa Cascadian Dark Ale. Pelican Brewing, born at the beach.
You better watch out because Bad Santa's coming to town. Today's Daily Ticker brought to you by Pelican Brewing. Celebrate the season with Bad Santa Cascadian Dark Ale.
Ho, ho, ho.
Here we are yesterday, all locked into conference championship weekend. Oregon's playing against Penn State tomorrow night, Big Ten title. Georgia-Texas rematch. Dabo could find his way into the playoff.
Mountain West won tonight.
Mountain West, the winners going to all of this is happening. We're all glued to this in college football, and then out of nowhere, you heard the glass break like it's Stone Cold Steve Austin. It's like, is that Bill Belichick's music? I think I hear Bill Belichick's music. He reportedly interviewed with the Carolina Tar Heels, and let's go to Carolina now. Heel Illustrated, Andrew Jones. Andrew, good morning to you. How surprised were you with this news? Like, how are people reacting out there in Tar Heel country that Bill Belichick interviewed for the job?
Well, I found out that on Sunday that there were 4 members of the Board of Trustees that were pushing for him. And the irony, guys, is that 3 of them wanted Mac out because he was too old, the game had passed him by, and the changing landscape. And then all of a sudden there's this shiny toy called Bill Belichick. They think, why the hell not? So Bubba Cunningham, the athletic director at North Carolina, is not going about this solo as he's done in the past. It's such a big hire. It's such an important time for North Carolina football, for all college football. And there's a new chancellor, and they wanted more people to be involved. Well, that's the kind of input he's getting from some of the people that are involved. I think the interview, and I was told Monday that there probably would be some kind of Zoom interview with him, A, to appease those members of the Board of Trustees, because they're also big donors, and B, why not just see what he has to say? And see if maybe they could glean something from him. What's happened now, and there's sort of a double-edged sword on this, is they've gotten a ton of publicity that someone inside the athletic department told me yesterday, you can't buy that publicity. But it's sort of a double-edged there. Part of it's positive because they're talking about North Carolina football across the nation. The negative is people are like, what the hell's going on here? Because they have legitimately quality candidates that they're also talking to, like John Sumrall from Tulane and Matt Campbell, whom I really like from Iowa State. They're both at the top of the list right now. And then there's Bill Belichick. And it's a head scratcher. I actually floated the name out there Monday on our message boards to see what people thought, and they thought it was comical. And now that there's a lot of publicity, some are saying, hey, wait a minute, college football's changing. Maybe it could work with this guy. So I think there's a healthy handful of people that are desperate to get good in football here.
I think this is a tough thing to balance with an opinion because North Carolina, we've heard this the last couple of weeks when we kind of got wind that Mac might be out. We always heard out west, Andrew, that Arizona State was a sleeping giant. It's been our whole life. We've been hearing this, and they've never been good largely. And now Kenny Dillingham's there. It's his dream school. Big 12 championship year 2. Okay, maybe that was right. We've heard that same stuff echoed about North Carolina, that's a really desirable job. The ACC kind of sucks. It's there for the taking. Those candidates you name are great candidates. But also, this is Bill Belichick. Like, he's debatably the GOAT of football in general. So, like, I don't know how you square what's best for the program because you're right. You go from old to old, so that doesn't change much. But is it better to build with Belichick? Could Belichick recruit? I don't know how to square any of this and what the right decision for a program like that is.
I think it's okay to talk to him because of who he is. And we're at a time now where for a while there we had a 78-year-old and an 81-year-old running for president. So if you can be president, and one guy won, the younger one who ended up being the older one. So if you can be president, then why can't you coach college football? And I thought it was interesting. Adam Gorney, who's in our network at Rivals.com, wrote a piece yesterday kind of using the Dion model. That, hey, Dion recruits like crazy and he doesn't leave campus. Belichick's not going to go into some 16-year-old's home. He's not going to walk the halls of a high school in Oxford, North Carolina. shaking hands and handing out T-shirts or anything like that. You're going to have to go to him. But the thing about it is, the last time that he won a Super Bowl, how old were the kids he's going to recruit? Their parents may be gaga over him, but that doesn't mean that the kids are going to be. And then you have all the NIL stuff that comes into play, which I do think that he would. They're increasing NIL there anyway, and they're going to be fully funded with revenue sharing, so they're not going to be in too bad a shape there. I just think that the old photos that these kids put on Twitter when they visit, with the coach with the family, and he's pointing at the kid. I don't see Belichick doing any of that stuff. I see him going through about 6 months of that and saying, "Nah, this is absurd. I'm walking away." And then they're stuck in like June or July and having to promote someone from within. So I think it would be silly to do. I think it's an interesting conversation, but from my sources, I don't believe it's serious. I don't believe he's a candidate, but just having him involved, Bubba Cunningham could turn around and say, "Hey, look, we chose Matt Campbell over Bill Belichick," and try to sell him a little bit more if they think that they even need to do that. So I think it's an interesting story. I think it's a massive speed bump, and I think they're on the other side of it now.
Well, Dirt, I think the other part of that, too, that Andrew probably already knows is if they hired him, I think we all know he's stealing his kid from UW to be his D coordinator.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, bring his kid to be the.
Because that was Washington. Well, that was one of the strengths. Of the
and
defense.
you mentioned, Andrew, that he maybe not wanted to do the social media stuff with the recruits, and you might be right there. But did you see him on Halloween where he was reeling in his mermaid girlfriend on Instagram? So maybe he's into the social media stuff.
Co-eds, watch out.
Well, that's the other storyline. All that he goes to a college campus and look at all the potential talent that he has right there on campus. So. That's been one of the jokes people are floating.
Yeah, who's he really recruiting there, Andrew? Huh? The players or the ladies?
Well, they score higher, I think, with the co-eds than they do on the football field. So there's no doubt about that.
That is so true. I love
that. Hey, so I'm told, right? I'm married, but I still, Anyway, I don't want to go there.
It's a word on the street, at least.
Yeah, the thing about his son, I guess if you want to try to connect some dots that make a little bit of sense, you bring his son, and maybe he's the coach in waiting, but I don't know. I think that they can do a lot better than that. I honestly think that they have a very legitimate chance to get Matt Campbell. I think that would be a great hire. And Summerall's an up-and-coming guy who's won big time wherever he's been, and he would be a very good hire too, but I do think there's a concern he'd be a job hopper.
Yeah.
Campbell, I can see Campbell coming in at 44 and laying down some roots and staying there for a while and maybe waking up that sleeping giant, because I've joked for years. I've covered North Carolina for a long time, and I've joked for a long time that they've been on snooze. And so that sleeping giant's not waking up. He hears something, hits the snooze, and goes back to sleep. And you're kind of right. Arizona State's like that as well. So I don't think Bill Belichick's the guy to wake that up. I mean, it wasn't like he was dominant after Tom Brady left, which is another point some people are making. So it's a lot of fun. It made this week a little bit interesting, but I do think that by Sunday they'll probably announce a new hire, and I believe that coach is coaching this weekend.
Interesting. So last one for you, Andrew. We'll get you out on this. You mentioned those two names, Campbell and Summerall, who will both be very good hires for them and have had a lot of successes. I'm just curious, one, is there any other name on the outside of those two that's maybe getting a little bit of murmur or buzz that they're potentially looking at? And then on the snooze button thing, that is so funny because I have looked at North Carolina from all the way out in Oregon and viewed them that way of like, man, the brand. How many colleges have better brand recognition than North Carolina because of Jordan and the baby blue,
the uniforms,
everything that goes with it, like a fertile recruiting ground too, right? Like there's really good high school football in North Carolina. So what's been so I guess first part, any other names to keep an eye on, and then second, what is the why have they been snoozing so much?
I think they've been snoozing so much because there haven't been great cultures. Yeah, I've kind of surmised that some of the kids that are 4-stars that want to go there because they think they can get on the field a lot quicker instead of going to a Clemson or a Georgia where it might take a little longer. So they might not be kids that want to battle as much. And therefore, that kind of explains why North Carolina can have nothing but 4-stars on defense and suck. Because they're just not that tough sometimes. That's been the biggest issue. Mac Brown cracked that in the 90s. His last two teams at Carolina had arguably the best defense in college football. Had he stayed, I don't think that narrative would be there now. They were waking up. Finally, the Giant was waking up. But he met with the athletic director in late 1997 at a hotel in Atlanta, And the athletic director told him the football coach will never make more than the basketball coach in North Carolina. And Mac said adios.
Yeah.
Now that changes now because Mac makes more than Hubert Davis, and he made more than Roy Williams when Roy Williams was had his last couple of years. So I think that that's changed, but that was the opportunity. Not every program has the opportunity to get the right guy. And the right guy that can be a lifer there. It doesn't happen very often. They had that guy and they let him go. He came back to try to resuscitate. He did some good things, but in the end, at 73 now, it's starting to slip away.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have Sam Howard, Drake May throwing the ball around, so you saw really what kind of program he has, and they have to make a change, which makes the Belichick stuff kind of silly because why would you even try that? Go ahead and get somebody that's young and has done this before. Matt Campbell's been a head coach for 13 years, and he's 44 years old.
Yeah.
He's exactly the guy you probably would have wanted to hire 12, 13 years ago if you could. Now you have a chance to do it, and he's got a lot under his belt. And if he can win at Ames, Iowa, he can win at Chapel Hill because you're right. The talent is in this area, in this region, is outstanding. Atlanta's 6 hours away. Washington, D.C. metro area is 4 hours away north. Within that range, you can win national championships every year with that talent. I mean, Clemson and Georgia have done it.
Yeah.
You could probably win a national championship just with Charlotte area and Atlanta area talent.
Unbelievable.
Dirk, could you imagine Belichick, who creeped out of a Boston area apartment on a creaky deck on a ring cam, sneaking out of a dorm?
Out of a sorority house. Hey, there goes Bill, man. I think I saw him on the ring camera. Well, our boss is a big dookie, so I'm sure he's driving in just with his blood boiling right now. So it's always fun to revisit that rivalry. Andrew Jones, Heel Illustrated, covering the Tar Heels. Man, that was a lot of fun. Thanks so much for the insight. Hopefully we can do this again soon.
Absolutely. Appreciate having me on, guys.
There you go. Andrew Jones. Great stuff from Tar Heel country.
Hall of Fame hit right there.
That was
Get him in, too.
Dude, that was great. That was really good. He was fun.
I mean, he's not wrong.
No.
And that's what's funny about, like, all that, Belichick to go, give him another chance. I saw a take yesterday from Costas. You've been an idiot not to hire Bill Belichick. I'm like, would you?
Yeah.
We got to be honest about this stuff, man. All-time legendary coach, the GOAT to many. I totally get it.
The college game is so much different, man.
But are we going to just memory hole what it was the last 2 years? I mean, those were like, I hope we can win 11-8 this weekend.
Well, and like he used the line, the only thing I disagree with a little bit there, and Andrew, like Dion is recruiting fine, and he's mostly portaling his team at Colorado. I like the
Got
comp.
a little better this year, but yeah.
I mean, they had the 37th ranked recruiting class in the country. They're behind Syracuse and Kansas State.
No, I know.
Duke has a better recruiting class in Colorado.
At one point, they were in the 50s this year.
I'm not saying it's not better than where it was.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not like, in their past regime, they couldn't recruit to save their lives. But this idea that he's like killing it and bringing all these guys in because he's Dion, he's going to portal a ton of guys in, and he's signed a couple of big recruits. But they're right there with Iowa and Utah. That's
Dion
where
also
recruiting.
coached high school at Jackson State. Like, he kind of built
Knew the
his
groundwork,
way,
yeah.
and he knew how to coach those level of guys.
Yeah.
Belichick only knows the professional way, and I don't know if that works.
God, it'd be funny, though, wouldn't it? Man, that would be entertaining if he came back and coached college football. The Daily Ticker, as always, brought to you by our good friends at Pelican Brewing Company. This year, give Santa what he wants. Forget the milk, Paris cookies with the Northwest's favorite festive beer, Bad Santa Cascadian Dark Ale. I'm going to save the juicy matchups for the top of the hour, and we'll get a little bit of a mock Big Pee-Pee in, if you will. We'll Sprague the line at 8:30. Let's get to one, though, that Sprague says he doesn't care about. Or do you agree with him? We'll dive into that next on The Fan.
Who's stinking it up?
Do not go in there.
It's time for Who's Stinking It Up, a sports lowlight that's ripped from the headlines.
We couldn't do diddly poo.
Brought to you by Three Mountains Home Services. Schedule your appointment online at threemountainshomservices.com.
And from Silver Spring, Maryland, Luka connects on the three-pointer, and the Wizards have seen enough. It's a 10-point lead at 16-6.
There's Dallas Mavericks television on the call. Mavericks win 137-101. I love me some Three Mountains Home Services. They got a great deal right now on a generator in case your power goes out. Go visit them. This could just turn into the Washington Wizards Three Mountains Home Services report.
The Wizards report every day. Don't let Cooper Flag go to Washington, man.
Don't worry, Silver won't let that happen.
Don't let it happen.
Frozen envelope part
Frozen
two.
envelope. We don't want him in D.C.
Who's stinking it up? The Washington Wizards, brought to you by Three Mountains Home Services. Make your home services delightful. Let the pros tackle the projects you need completed. Schedule an appointment online, Three Mountains Home Services. That's threemountainshomservices.com.
Hey, everybody, Sprague here. You know I'm a sports guy.
Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
On 1080 The Fan.
All right, welcome back in. Before we get to one of the games this weekend, I did want to give you a couple updates on the Beavs.
Oh, yeah. Go Beavers.
There we go.
How about that?
That's what I was looking for. Found it. They got a nice little trend of guys that are saying they're going to stick around next year. Now, what does that mean for next year? I don't know. But Jabari Johnson, the latest one to throw his name into the ring, saying, I will be back for another year at Oregon State.
I was worried about that one.
He said he's
Elite.
returning. I would say Saladin Alab was one of their better young players of the season.
He really came on at the end for them when Hankerson got hurt.
He did. And Hankerson, by the way, we told you yesterday, he already said he's coming back, and now you got both your running backs coming back next year.
I hope that indeed happens. I would assume saying this means some financial stuff happened, and I'll just also add this caveat. A lot of these kids are liars and have no idea what checks are going to come their way in about 2 weeks. So
yeah,
they might be coming back, and also if they leave, I won't sit here and go, I can't believe you said he's coming back, not coming back.
We did do that with Damian Martinez last year. He was, at this point, committed and
one of the best running backs
and,
ever.
Yeah.
Did this last year, and then he left. And so, teams get desperate. They look around. Hankerson played at Colorado, had a good year. Didn't fit. Came to Oregon State, had a good year. I mean, Jam Griffin was here, left, came back. So, I just don't know how concrete any of that is. But so far, it's been encouraging.
Yeah. One of the games this weekend, I want to get to the full slate here coming up top of the hour. We will Sprague the line at 8:30. You have said that you are not interested in watching this game, and I'm wondering if it's a timing thing or if it's a matchup thing or a team thing. You're out on the ACC title game.
Yes, to all three of what you just said. I mean,
everything in the
category. It's going to be 5 o'clock on a Saturday night, and
same time as Ohio State, or excuse me, Oregon and Penn State.
So, I don't think I want to do the multi-view on YouTube TV. So I think I'm going to have Oregon alone. My kid uses the iPad because we only let her have the iPad on the weekends, and that might be some Roblox time for her.
Yeah, she's playing with something, so you just
I
go.
Look, am I going to watch it? Yeah, I will. Am I going to miss a couple plays? And you're like, remember that third and 8 play? And I'm like, yeah.
Quit hating on Rhett Lashley over there. What's the matter with you, man?
Coach of the year.
Yes, he was.
How are people excited for that game?
Yeah,
I don't want to say this. It's not a great opinion. I give them all their flowers. It's cool to see in year one. Nobody wants to watch SMU in the playoff. Nobody's excited about it. Everybody hates Dabo, so nobody wants to see them in the playoff. I don't know, man. I love the conference championship games. I get a big nooner, Big 12. I'm excited about it. I love the idea that Matt Campbell might be his last year, and does he walk off with a Big 10 title game win?
Mm-hmm.
Dillingham in year 2 got all the way there. Nobody picked him. They were picked dead last in that conference. Then I get the afternoon slate, 1 o'clock SEC. That's beautiful, baby. And then Oregon, Penn State, which I think Oregon will run away with, but I'll give Penn State some benefit there. Of all the games, it's the least interesting.
Yeah.
I don't care about SMU in any way. I hate Clemson.
The return of the ponies, man. The funny thing
you
is,
could push me a step further, Dirt. I don't think I can name 6 players total in this. I just don't like the ACC sucks.
Yeah, it's not a good conference.
This is why I kind of wish Miami would have just been gifted into the. At least I would have had Cam Ward on my television.
Yeah, you can hate watch Mario Cristobal. That's at least entertaining. You know they're going to score a lot of points.
I would only hate watch Mario if he made the playoff. I would actually root for him to win the ACC.
To get into the playoff.
Because I'd rather watch Miami in the playoff than SMU or Clemson.
It's funny because I feel like so many people watched SMU the first couple of weeks of the season. So if you remember back to week 0, they were one of the teams that played on week 0.
That's a hot take because I don't think anybody in America has watched SMU.
You're true. I'm a sicko. I know. I got problems.
You are a psychopath.
I got issues, okay? They played in week 0. Do you remember who they played in week 0? There was 4 games that day.
Was it BYU?
There was the Florida State Georgia Tech game, member in Ireland. It was upset. There was a couple other random ones. They played at Nevada in week 0.
That's right. They almost
lost the game. And they came in with all this hype and hey, look at SMU in the ACC. Damn near lost to Nevada in week 0. Mm-hmm. 2 weeks later, they lost at home to BYU, which nobody thought was going to be good this year. And I think everybody around the country, if you saw that game and then the BYU result, was like, I'm not watching SMU.
Then they changed their quarterback.
And then you look up and you're like, wait a minute, they're 7-1. They haven't lost. But they played a bunch of Stanford games on ESPN Plus or the CW, and nobody's watched them all year. And here they are, 1 win away from the college football playoff.
I heard a sneaky good point. Do you know who screwed Miami maybe the most? Stanford.
How so?
Well, Stanford beat Syracuse and Syracuse early in the year.
Yes.
If they don't win that game, Syracuse is a ranked team, right?
Yeah.
And then who did Miami beat on the road? Louisville. Who beat Louisville at the end of the year on a field goal?
Yeah, Stanford did.
If Stanford doesn't win that, Louisville's ranked, so that's a ranked win for Miami.
That's a good point. Syracuse would be 10-2, and Louisville would be 9-3.
And that loss to Syracuse ain't so bad to people, even though they were up 21-0. And so, like, in a weird way, Stanford kind of screwed.
Stanford went 3-9.
Miami, and they were a bad
3-9.
football team.
They were terrible this year.
Well, welcome to the ACC, Stanford.
Yeah, this is what they do. They did it to us. God, I'm so glad we don't have to play that stupid team anymore.
I don't largely sit here and do the Colin is right thing. I'm right here. Nobody in America cares about that conference championship game, and nobody wants to see either of those teams in the playoff. And I hate to say this because I was so against it last year. God, I hope SMU loses and Bama leapfrogs them. I don't want to watch SMU.
SEC honk Sprague coming in off the top rope. What happened to you?
I don't know.
What? You're rooting for a 3-loss SEC team?
The sport broke me, and we've somehow reversed roles.
You're now the
on
zombie
ACC.
now? Yeah,
Yes.
you've been eaten by the zombies.
Am I wrong? Do you guys want to watch SMU Clemson? I'm not
You know,
excited for that
Just
game.
for the irony of it, yeah. I think I said this to you off air after the show yesterday that it is pretty ironic that as soon as SMU comes back into the fray is when you can pay players above the table. So, yeah, you know, that old guard, like lots of Dallas football money, a lot of old religious money poured into that school. Like,
Oil
it
money.
should go for something.
I mean, they're essentially. I mean, they're not playing for free, but they basically said, just give us like $2 million ACC, and we'll come to your conference because they're being bankrolled by billionaires.
Exactly, really rich
Like, just
people.
let us into a power conference, and hey, I can't blame them. They win tomorrow night. It works. They're in the college football playoff. They might be in with a loss too.
I'd rather watch Scattaboo play a playoff team by himself.
Just
I
1
hear
on
that.
11 than watching SMU play.
Scattaboo is
Do
very
you agree with Sprague? Do you not care at all about the ACC championship game
Scattaboo
this
should be
weekend?
in New York, by the way.
He
He's gonna
should.
get totally screwed out of
He
this
should.
whole deal. He should. I'm tired of this 3 to 4 player limit. It should be 7 guys.
Yeah.
Scattaboo absolutely should at least be in a nice tuxedo.
Yes, he should.
With some chest pubes flowing out of the top of it.
Give me the backstory. Him playing the piano. I want that from Scattaboo.
You know, his brother was older and used to beat up on him, but he took pride in those beatings, and now he
damn right.
applies them every Saturday. I'm like, yeah, hell yeah, he does.
Now he's going to give it to Iowa State maybe tomorrow. We'll get to the rest of Conference Championship week. Sprague in the line coming up at 8:30. It's Loaded Football Friday, final hour next on the Fan.
Auto accident? Let
Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update is brought to you by Reynolds Defense Firm. If you've been arrested for DUI, you need a team of attorneys you can put your trust into. Call Reynolds Defense Firm today online at reynoldsdefensefirm.com. First on The Fan, the Detroit Lions winning a barn burner on Thursday Night Football, beating the Packers in that NFC North showdown 34-31 the final. Jared Goff had a night throwing for 283 yards, 3 tutties. Also threw an interception, but the big play of the game was when Dan Campbell decided to convert a fourth down, or go for it on fourth down, that the Lions did convert with 40 seconds to go, helped them hold on for a game-winning Jake Bates field goal. And, of course, with the win, the Lions clinching a playoff berth. In the association, the Portland Trail Blazers back in action tonight, hosting the Utah Jazz as a 2.5-point favorite. Donovan Clingan, Robert Williams III, and Matisse Thybulle all out. Scoot Henderson questionable with a quad contusion. Tip-off set for 7 p.m. on KATU Charge Channel 2.2. And speaking of Utah, one of their schools, Utah State, getting a new head coach from the Lobos. Bronco Mendenhall signing a 6-year deal to join the Aggies. He led New Mexico State to a 5-7 record this season. Before that, coached at BYU and Virginia until 2021. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Schulte at the 1080 The Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
The Fan Merch Locker has a new long-sleeve tee and hoodies in your favorite college colors. Get yours now at 1080thefan.com. Oregon.
James to his right, trips out to the left. Snap back to throw. Straight drop, looking left. Throws it. End zone. Caught. Touchdown, Oregon. Des Johnson. And he was looking for him all the way.
Penn State.
Aller to pass. Aller to Warren. And the record has been set.
This is a Big Ten Championship Week edition of Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here. Online at modspdx.com.
Dirt and Sprague on the Odyssey app and 1080.
You want to be playing your best ball at this moment.
The Fan.
Hey, let's do this. Final hour. Dirt and Sprague here on Portland Sports Leader, 1080 The Fan, 99.5 HD2. The Odyssey app, live on YouTube. Fill in my huddle, damn it. We got 1 hour of radio left this week, and then we'll send you off onto the weekend.
Duck fans flying into Indy.
Yeah, they added flights. You can get there.
Yeah.
Tickets are only $12 to get in the door, so plane ticket's expensive. Game ticket, pretty cheap.
Plane ticket's also annoying because there are no direct flights to Indy from Portland.
No, they added them for this game.
Thank
effing
$900.
God.
Yeah, I mean, it's spendy, but you can get there directly from Portland.
I'd pay it.
They price gouge you.
You would?
That's the hard thing. Like, if you're trying to plan travel for a bowl game, potentially, like I know some people who are trying to go potentially to the Rose Bowl if Oregon is to win this weekend.
Yeah.
I told a lot of them, like, I know it's a bit of a pain in the ass. Book it and get the insurance. Because the second Oregon wins this weekend, I guarantee you price rates for flights to L.A. December 28th, 29th, 30th, 31st, on the way back from L.A. on the 2nd, on the 3rd, are just going to skyrocket. And so you got to make sure you have a security there where you can get your money back if Oregon loses and they're not going to go play in that game. But they wait to see those, and the second they do, boom, there it is. They're gonna price gouge you, man.
I mean, I don't make much, but I do splurge on one thing that's big in my life, and that is travel. I do not like to be cattle herded, like at the back of the plane, cheap seat, like giving up space, giving up leg room. I hate that. I would like to be comfortable. I'm not saying I buy first class tickets for every flight that I do, but the experience with travel when you have a higher whatever, like a fare, even just like the Alaska Airlines premium, your relationship with travel is so much better than when you're rushing to the airport. And I will compare it to like first class. You walk through the first class line for security. It's literally way quicker than even TSA pre-check people. You check in really quick in first class. They take your bag. Everybody's a lot nicer to you. It's just the way that it goes. And as soon as you sit down on the plane, you get a drink.
Yeah.
And then you're the first one to get off the plane. It is such a different experience, and in my opinion, worth it.
I find getting off the plane first a vastly overrated thing that we care about for some reason in this society.
You don't want to stand up in the aisle when the plane lands?
We're going to get off the plane.
You just want to hang there amongst
I
all
just
the
don't
sardines?
Why do
Some random guy farting in your face standing in the aisle?
Exactly.
You're in row
Thank you.
28. What do you need to stand up for?
Because the guy next to me is either fat or he smells bad or they've got a kid that's been talking for the entire 3-hour flight. I need to get the hell back into the lounge, man.
I think you need to travel a little more. Your travel experience sounds like it's been awful.
No, it's actually been really good. I've
He's
avoided
paying
those
for it.
things.
Yeah, you got to pay for the
Look, you wanna,
luxury.
You want to pay for first class? That's your bank account business. I find it odd you cite legroom. You're not a very tall person.
Hey, little guys need leg room too. Little guys, don't you me. Little guys need leg room.
Durden Schultz's legs swinging off the seat.
That's
I want to
not
be
the
able to
problem.
swing it.
I'm
Damn
not
it!
I'm not the skinniest dude in the world, you jerk. So you think I can?
You
fit
just
my
railed
big
against
old
fat
hips in?
people. What do you mean?
I'm not saying that I'm a tubbo because I can actually sit in my seat. I have had 2 flights where I had somebody spilling over into my seat and cause back pain for me for days
Bad
after.
luck.
It's like, yo, you need to buy 2 seats. I've never been that fat.
I've never.
Don't let him get fired up on airplanes, man. Don't let him get going. Here goes Schultz. We wound him up. He's going.
I don't understand the need to get off the plane so damn quickly, and I also find the opposite to be funny. I never remember to do early check-in. That's like a big deal to people.
Yeah, you got to check in.
Screw that.
And I've done it early and I've done it late, and I've ended up in both times being the seaboard. Guess what? Don't care. I'll
Yeah.
get on the plane too, and I will sit in the seat in which I paid for.
Very true. We were talking about the ACC title game in the last segment, and a few thoughts that came in. Somebody said, absolutely watching Clemson on the second TV. Clemson win, Bama may be out, so it definitely matters.
So I want to hold this for the weekend because
Yes.
last year we talked about the Florida State stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They barely won the ACC title game with no Jordan Travis.
They did. Who'd they play? Louisville in that game?
Yes, Louisville. And then we knew Bama was looming if they won the SEC title game. Now, that certainly is a caveat that matters. But I just find it interesting that a lot of us are assuming SMU is in with a loss.
It's not smart.
And Bama's out.
It's not smart.
And
I will grant you that.
I was an idiot.
You're an idiot. We all know that, though.
Well, we do know that, yeah.
Somebody said it does feel like a blue blood versus a usurper. So, yes, there's some intrigue there for me. Is Clemson? I mean, Clemson, I guess, still a blue blood. I mean,
really?
I'd call them that.
I mean, they have 2 titles.
In the last 10 years, they've won 2 championships, right? When was their first one with Deshaun Watson? 2015-ish, I want to say. And then Lawrence won in like 17. So I think they got 2 titles in the last 10 years. That's got to still count.
More people question Oregon than they do Clemson.
And then somebody said, I don't trust anything Sprague says after the raw ground meat in the crock pot take. So I don't blame you there either.
That's a fair point, but it's okay to also be honest. America agrees with me.
It's the least exciting game of the weekend. There's not a doubt in my mind for that.
I said I'm going to watch it. I'm not going to not watch it.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you, my kid could tempt me with Home Alone 2 situation, and I'd be like, oh, God, I'm really going to think about this.
Yeah, I mean, I could get lost in New York again. Where's the weird pigeon lady? Now, let me ask the question on the opposite side. So we know the least exciting game of the weekend will be Clemson and SMU. If you take fandom, job, profession, all that stuff out of it, you're just a college football fan this weekend.
Yeah.
No longer hosting a radio show.
Okay.
In the state of Oregon.
Yes.
What's the game you pick to watch? I only give you one game to watch. Which one do you pick?
I'm still as big a sports fan as I am.
You're just a sports fan. You want to sit at home and watch football tomorrow, but you can only choose to watch one game.
It's hard.
Or counting tonight, too, so just for the overall weekend. So it could
Yeah.
be Boise and UNLV for you.
If I can only, that's a weird question to ask me.
Would it be like, is Georgia, Texas?
Oregon,
or
Penn
is it
State would be hard for me not to watch. I mean, I grew up my whole life here, okay? And
Yeah.
my degree says Oregon State. Most of my youth, I was back and forth. Whoever was the better team, I wanted them to go as far as they could. And so, there's the element of me that will always exist that is interested in the local stuff. I also have a lot of friends and family that are Duck fans. So I'm just kind of fascinated by it. It's just interesting to watch what that was for me at a lot of my life and what it's become.
Mm-hmm.
Hard not to pick it. Texas, Georgia's, it's just SEC is always going to have an ability to get you. And I kind of think Texas is going to win the rematch, even though the last one has no indication that that's going to happen.
No, but Texas's defense was dominant in that game. Their defense wasn't the issue. They picked off Carson Beck 3 times. They just couldn't do anything on offense.
Well, I think it's also a big Sark prove-it game. There's a little bit of that, too. Not that he didn't prove it last year getting to the playoff, but the Big 12 was weak.
It was. They beat Alabama at Alabama, though, so yeah, that
they
win.
did. That was a big win for them. But Ewers looked so bad against Georgia, and Kirby just looked like he completely outclassed him.
Yeah.
There's an element of this stuff, right? I mentioned Lanning earlier. If he doesn't beat Franklin, there's going to be a narrative. Whether you think it's right or not doesn't matter. There will be some narrative stuff that pops up if he loses to James Franklin. I think that's going to happen too with Sark. And I think we get carried away with that stuff because Sark is a good coach. But there's a bit of like new conference, that's the guy in your way.
Yeah, you got to get through him.
And if you lose twice in the year to him, you have no win to really brag about after that.
Yeah.
You'll get in the playoff, but there's going to be an element of that stuff. So I probably would pick Oregon, Penn State, but I'd be really hard-pressed not to pick Georgia, Texas.
Yeah, one listener said Texas, Georgia, 1,000% would be it. Another one said Penn State, Oregon will probably be a boring game.
Yeah, I kind of have that feeling.
Very well could. Penn State has a tendency to play in low-scoring, ugly games. I would point back to Texas and Georgia, which ended up being compelling in the regular season because you had the bottle-throwing incident. Remember the pick six that was overturned that they then re-overturned, that whole debacle officiating-wise? That was a pretty ugly football game.
Isn't there something?
Neither team could get over midfield offensively. So if you just are into defensive slobber knockers, then that's a game for you. But let's not act like that was a free-flowing, shooting from the hip, exciting, fun game.
Narrative-based stuff works, though, and this is where it does come in. Penn State, Oregon might be a boring football game. That could be 100% accurate.
Yeah, you tell me it's 24-17, I'm not surprised at all.
But if it's 24-17 Georgia, and it's the same kind of style of football game as Oregon, Penn State, but Georgia's up, because of the lifeblood of that conference and the way it's crammed down our throats every year, that's going to be more interesting because it's going to go, oh, look, Sark's getting his teeth kicked in again by Kirby.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's Oregon up on Penn State,
it'd just be James Franklin
Franklin being James Franklin. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
somehow they have boring games and they get by of like, wow, I can't believe this is happening. Other conferences have boring games. It's like, it's kind of boring.
Yeah, that's a very fair point. Let's get to let's be a big PP pick these games.
Yes, there's no PPs, but
that was a tongue twister. I got it out though. We will pick the games. I already know where Swag's going on the Oregon game. We can get his thoughts on the other one. If he doesn't want to text, it's not like we're competing for anything on these picks. So we'll let Schulte do it. It'll be a final way to kind of recap all the games in Conference Championship weekend.
Schulte.
Which begins tonight. Him and his
Magic Johnson.
That's Schulte in first class.
People are not
Magic Johnson.
People are not taking shots.
Damn right.
Shots at Schulte's height on the text line.
I did love that.
Be
we
nice
could
to
fire you
Schulte,
up.
damn it.
We could fire him up on airplane talk. I
Here's
love
the
that.
thing. I actually am with Schulte on this take.
You
Like
go
if
first
there's
class when you travel.
I don't.
huh?
I don't go first class.
You go business class?
I'm okay spending a little bit more for business class.
Have you done that?
I have. Yeah.
Really?
I have. Yeah, and I'm obviously not the largest individual. But now side to side I am, but height, top to bottom, not.
Dude, you're such a fake fan.
But there is an aspect. I'm with Schulte
such a
of just like having just an inch more comfortability, if that even is a word. I will pay for that.
I've traveled.
Depending on how long the
Yeah.
flight is. Like if I'm going to like Vegas and it's like a 2-hour flight, like whatever, I don't care. You shove me into row C or that's fine. But if I'm like going to the East Coast or something,
Dude, I flew to Vietnam for 13 hours in a 3-sectioned plane. I had a standard seat and it was fine.
you also had the help of drugs. Makes it more comfortable.
Ow. You're not necessarily wrong there.
I mean, I walk through the first class area every time on a
There's a
plane.
Sprague of sitting in row 32. Yeah.
It was December.
That's my guy.
I watched 6 movies.
You had a great time. You're feeling good. You're loose.
By the way, people don't walk past first class and like, oh, look at these guys are so nice. I think people are walking by like, I hate you. I
Yes.
hate
No, I'm
Every
like-
time you walk by first class, you look at those people and you say in your head, I hate you.
And when I'm
I hate,
sitting
I
in
hate
that
every single
seat,
one of
be
you.
like, I hate you too.
Your warm towel. Oh, yeah, you give it right back to them if that's you.
Yeah, you get back there with the cattle, you jerk.
Yeah, go herd into row 27, all right? Let's make picks for Conference Championship weekend. We'll get to Sprague and Line bottom of the hour back after this on The Fan.
It's time for a sports injury report. The injuries and rehab that impact the success of sports teams. Brought to you by Rock Orthopedic.
So one of the officials needs a moment. That's Carl Johnson, who at one time was the head of officials for the NFL, and then he decided, I want to come back out onto the field, and he's a good man. We're happy to see him get up.
Carl Johnson, no relation. The official got hurt in the game last night. Funniest tweet on this was, man, the injury bug continuing to pile up for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Dude, didn't see that's great.
Banged up last couple of weeks,
are
man.
you
They keep
not-
going down.
Are you not surprised the ref that stands near the linebackers isn't just completely wiped out every game?
Constantly just
Just
steamrolled by a
crossing
linebacker.
receiver DB thing, not paying attention to the zebra.
Get out of the way. Sports Injury Report presented by Rock Orthopedic, board-certified specialists who diagnose and treat the widest range of orthopedic cases with care and expertise. To schedule an appointment with Dr. Jeffrey Feinblatt, visit rocpdx.com.
The Herd with Colin Cowherd.
This is Big Ten Championship Week with Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
On 1080 The Fan.
All right, well, Sprague and the Line coming up bottom of the hour. Schulte got everybody all fired up.
Schulte got himself fired up.
That's also true.
I think he blacks out sometimes.
He does
and
when he
forgets
rants.
what he says.
Totally does.
Yeah.
You're interesting. You're such a nice guy, and then you just go on like a full angry tangent.
Once you get him going, you can't stop him.
And then he kind of calms down. And he's just like all giggly again.
Well, I'll be on from 12 to 3 hosting Danny and Dusty today.
Yeah,
so
you're going to be on
rants
today.
abound today.
Danny and Dusty with no Danny and no Dusty.
No,
Schulte
no
and
Danny
Will.
or Dusty. It's a Schulte Will edition. You know what that show's going to be?
Spicy.
Spicy Schulte.
Does Will just pick you up, tickle you, get you ready for the show?
Yes.
Magic Johnson.
He has to bring me back down sometimes.
Thought at the Vancouver Forward text line, F these short guys complaining about travel. I'm 6'4". I grew up like Sprague. I can afford to upgrade, but travel as cheap as possible. It's ingrained in me.
Dude, those airlines, they screw us so
They do.
hard.
I know.
You're not getting
You're
me
not
unless I
wrong.
got some crazy deal. And
You're not wrong.
the only airline, I don't think they do business with us. The only airline I've ever been on that I've like actually in my head complained about legroom, Southwest. They have something like where their seats feel a little closer, and I'm not like overly leaning my seat back because I don't want to be that guy to the person behind me.
Yeah, it's been a minute since I did Southwest. Do they still have no assigned seating? Because it used to be a free-for-all, and that was one where I was with Schulte on, like, let me get on and get a seat that I want and not be the last person on the plane, and then you're just left with middle seat, last row.
I'm fairly sure you still can pay for seat selection, but if you don't want to, then it's just wherever
general
on
admission.
Southwest.
Well, I'm Alaska card carrier, so I fly a lot of Alaska, but I'll be honest with you. Delta's got the best planes.
Mm-hmm.
They just do.
I like Alaska, honestly.
No, I like Alaska. Delta gives me TVs.
Yeah, it does.
Well, so
Alaska's
does
stuck.
JetBlue, actually. JetBlue with their direct TV right into your seat in front of you with a pretty big screen.
I've never flown JetBlue.
See, well, the thing that sucks about JetBlue is they don't give you first class, and they're the cheapest first class.
So you fly first class every time you travel?
No. I'm talking about like 3 times that I've ever flown first class. And when I do, I try to use credit card points. I try to lower the cost as much as possible. So it's not like hey, there's a $400 flight and there's a $1,500 flight. I'm just going with the $1,500 one.
Give me the more expensive
one.
one.
No. I try to use what I can to take the airline's profits away.
Let's pick the games this weekend, shall we? Can you hit me with my music, Schulte? Here's how we did, by the way, last week. So I wasn't going to do this, and then that's a good point. We should just pick all the conference championship games.
Yeah, we don't have as many PPs.
Because there's only one. Yeah, it's only the Oregon game, technically, with the segment. Last week, I went 3-0, hit on Oregon State, Wyoming, and Oregon.
I don't think I did very well.
You went 2-1. You hit on Wyoming, and you hit on the Ducks. We all 3 took Oregon. They covered.
Yeah.
But you took Boise State. You didn't have faith in your guys. They did cover.
Well, I was off. I felt good at the beginning of that game, and then it was like,
it was 14-0 right out of the gate. You're like, all right, they're going to get blown out. Swag did hit on Oregon State. He took the Cougs at home. They were 17-point favorite at home against Wyoming and lost outright. And again, we all hit on Oregon.
Fans in a weird spot right now.
So season standings, Sprague, you're still in first, 26-17. I'm now in second at 24-19, and then Swag's at 23-20.
Okay.
We'll start tonight in Boise. They don't know where it is on the map. We don't know where it is on the map, but they're hosting UNLV. They're favored by 4.5 at home.
I'm going to take the Running Rebels plus the 4.5. I do think there's an element of Boise has kind of just been like, hey, get us to this moment.
Okay.
I think that's looming. Like Wyoming, they won the game. It was close. They won the game. Oregon State, they won the game. But I'm going to have to take more than a field goal, and I'm getting over 4.5 with a hook. I'm going to have to just outright on principle take the Fighting Barry Odoms here.
Okay, Schulte, who do you like tonight?
Man, it's like a toughie, but it's not. I'm just going to go with Boise State, hoping, that Janty, even though he's banged up, he's going to show up because it's a conference championship game.
He's still running really good.
Yeah,
man.
we're going to see that fourth gear from him that really talented players show. I do think he'll still run for 2 tutties, and frankly, Boise State can cover this game.
The only bummer is it's not going to snow tonight. That sucks. It's going to be cold, but it's not going to snow. Should be noted in the first time that they played, they did a really good job against Genty. He had 33 carries for 128 yards, which I know, like, hey, that's still a great game. For him, that's not great from what the numbers
low.
That's low for Genty and what he'd been doing most of the year. And 33 carries for 128, that's not a great yard per carry, and that's what he's been dominant in all season. To me, it's a lot of points. I don't think Boise State – I think some of the shine's come off of them in the last month and a half or so for me. This was a tight, competitive game the first time that they played. Could have gone either way. I think it's the same thing tonight. You're giving me 4.5. I'll take the 4.5. Give me UNLV. Tomorrow morning, bright and early, 9 a.m., Iowa State and the Fighting Matt Campbell's taking on Kenny Dillingham, Dilly Dilly. He's got guys at his wedding.
Guys, my wedding.
ASU favored by 1.5.
This is a tough one, man. Iowa State's a really good running team as well. Arizona State's reputation is kind of that, right? Scatabo. I think.
I know you want to do it. Do it. You do want to do it.
I do want to do it.
You want to do it. You do it.
I do it.
Do it.
He's got a dog mentality.
Iowa State.
This team fights.
Wow. I want him to win.
Heel turn.
Campbell's a great coach. That team's good. They're
They
weird,
are?
but they're good.
Yeah.
They salvaged some of that. They got themselves to this spot.
I feel like a lot of people are just saying, "Oh, ASU's going to be like that."
It kind of feels like it's a foregone.
Dude, it's a
thing.
1-point spread.
Yeah.
It's a toss-up game.
If they limit Scattaboo, and Sam Levitt, local product,
Yeah.
can he win the game for them? I don't know. I've seen Campbell's teams do this, so I'm gonna take Iowa State.
Okay, Schultze?
I'm going the opposite way. I'm going with Arizona State's momentum. They won, 5 in a row to close the season leading
Playing
up
great.
to this conference championship
Good rush
game.
defense, too, by the way. Second in the Big 12 this year. They're only giving up 116 a game.
You're not wrong. And Iowa State, I believe they lost to Texas Tech, lost to Kansas earlier in the year. I think Arizona State is better than both of those teams. So today, I get it's a championship game, but let's go Arizona State to cover the 2. I know it's a pick 'em, but that's just such a low number.
Yeah.
I'd take it to cover.
There is a Levitt local story in this game. There's also an Iowa State local story. Brandon Piatzek is one of the best athletes in PIL history, a good buddy of mine. He's on the Iowa State staff in this game. Because of that, give me the Cyclones, man. Next up.
You teed that up like you were citing a player.
He's on the staff. Local story. PIL kid on the Iowa State
I
staff.
love that that's the same level as the starting quarterback.
It is to me, damn it. You got any friends on the Arizona State staff? Didn't think so.
I do. Kenny Dillingham.
Okay.
We're best friends.
Texas and Georgia, 1 o'clock on ABC.
Oh, this is gonna be
Texas favored by 2.5.
I'm taking the Longhorns here. I'm gonna zag. Everybody's gonna take Georgia. They saw the first game. I totally get it. You know where I'm at on Carson Beck, and I know Quinn Ewers was a struggle bus in that game. And this is basically a home game, by the way, for Georgia, which is probably fair because they beat Texas in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take the Fighting Longhorns, the Fighting Sarks. I think they do it, and I'll take sub a field goal.
Okay, Schultze?
Man, this is tough. Probably the toughest one on the schedule for me. I want to go with Texas because they got the best defense in the nation, hands down. But, God, Georgia has been pretty good at points on defense this season, too.
Do
it.
Oh, jeez.
Come on.
Nah, I'm going to go Texas. Just to win straight up, though. I think it'll be a last-second field goal type of game.
I will take.
Acceptable, Alabama fans.
Yeah,
I didn't mean to hit that one. That was sorry.
Kirby Smart in a big game. Not going to bet against Kirby Smart in a big game.
The honeymoon's over.
Not for him, it's not. They put him into a blender offensively when they played in Austin. I don't trust Texas's offense. I certainly don't love Carson Beck in this game. I think low scoring and ugly. But I will take Georgia to cover the 2.5. I think they win the game outright. 5 o'clock. We'll save Oregon for last. Let's go to the ACC title game, which everybody is thrilled about. Clemson and SMU. Let me double-check the line on this game. It is SMU minus 2.5, 5 o'clock on ABC.
I hate who I have to pick here. The orange team. I'm not going to say his name.
Going Clemson, huh?
That goober's going to be in the playoff.
He's going to be in the playoff.
Told you so. I told you my
He
way
had a
of doing
quote
this
the other
right
day,
way.
said, hey, I was the first ever 15-0 champ. Maybe I'll be the first ever 3-loss champ.
Nope, they're not winning a playoff game.
Schultze?
I mean, I like SMU in this. They swept their ACC schedule, did they not?
They did. They're
seem
9-0 in
like
conference
they
play.
are the better team in this matchup.
I'm rooting for them.
And me too. Their only loss was to BYU earlier in the season.
Yep.
Arizona State barely beat BYU. Like, this is a good team in SMU. I'm going to pick them, and I'm going to pick them to cover.
Yeah. I'm going to take Clemson as well. I think they're the better team. I think SMU has benefited from a very fortunate and easy schedule this year.
Yeah.
Clemson's not great, but the conference sucks. I think they're going to win it. That would be unfortunate. Last but not least, 5 o'clock right here on The Fan. Oregon, Penn State, the line 3.5.
Quack, quack. Mr. Ducksworth. Quack, quack.
Okay. Schultze?
I
already know you locked in your big bet on the Ducks. Huh?
And I'm about to put more money on it. Like, I'm wondering, I'm hearing some
You can
sharp...
open the bet and then be like, I'm going to add more to
More.
Well, no, it's still sitting at the same line. And
You have a bookie, you can actually do that.
Oh, no, thank you.
Add
No.
50 spot.
But there is sharp money going on Penn State right now, so might throw some if the line moves down to 3. on
Becoming
that as
a
well.
trendy pick, huh? Penn
It's
State is.
apparently something that the sharp money thinks
That
that
hook
Penn
is
State
big
will
for
cover.
people. Oregon
totally
tends
is.
to close games. They have lows, yeah.
I mean, the Packers was a favorite for the Sharps last night, and then it ended up closing at 3. It was 3.5 all week, so if you liked him at 3.5, you won that bet last night, but closed at 3. You know where I'm going. So there you go, your big PP picks. See how we do? One last week, and then we'll pick the bowl games. We got a Coug Bowl game to pick, Husky Bowl game to pick, Oregon playoff games to pick, so it will continue. Let's break the line. We'll do it next. First, here, Schulte with Sports Center.
This is Big Ten Championship Week with Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update is brought to you by Laurelhurst Market Steakhouse and Butcher Shop. Make your holidays extra merry with a 28-day dry-aged rib roast from the best neighborhood butcher shop in town, online at laurelhurstmarket.com. First on the Fans, a barn burner of a Thursday night football matchup. The Detroit Lions end up on top over the Packers 34-31. Jared Goff throwing for 3 tutties. Threw an interception in the second half, allowed Green Bay to take the lead, but a huge fourth down conversion under a minute allowed Detroit to hold on and win with a Jake Bates field goal. They clinched a playoff berth with a win, did the Detroit Lions. Moving to the association, the Portland Trail Blazers back in action tonight, hosting the Utah Jazz as a 2.5-point favorite. I believe it's the first time they've been a favorite all season. Donovan Clingan, Robert Williams III, and Matisse Thybulle all out. Scoot Henderson questionable with a quad contusion. Tip-off set for 7 p.m. on KATU Charge, Channel 2.2. And in college football, multiple reports stating that North Carolina has interviewed former Patriots coach Bill Belichick for their head coaching vacancy. The 72-year-old reportedly wants to coach again and is open to considering jobs in college and the NFL. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Schulte at the 1080 The Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
The Hot Corner, now in its new time. Tuesdays at 7 after Isaac and Sue on Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan.
Like a quarterback without an offensive line. This is McDaniel Reynolds with the Reynolds Defense Firm, and we specialize in just one thing.
This is Big Ten Championship Week with Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
On 1080 The Fan.
Sprague in the line. Sprague in the line.
Sprague in the line.
Sprague in the line.
See what we got here today. Sprague in the line brought to you by Souk on a deserted island. The only thing Dirt finds tastier than fading a Sprague pick. Sprague in the line brought to you by continuing Sprague's birthday celebration. Have a great weekend, Sprague.
You know, I appreciate that.
Look at
You could have
that.
taken a shot, called me old, whatever. You didn't. Thank you.
That's a nice little birthday Sprague in the line sponsor.
Oh, that's nice.
Hold on one second. We get some of these. Sprague in the line brought to you by the amount of days Swag will actually work between now and April, still higher than Sprague's win total. He's working. He just has multiple jobs. Sprague in the line brought to you by the geography of Idaho. These jokers are about as accurate calculating their picks as they are figuring out the location of Boise.
You never know what fires people up when you do a show, and it can be the most random of things. I can only imagine how angry
Yeah, that one got people going.
people got about that whole Spokane, Pullman,
These idiots.
Boise,
Good.
southeast, southwest, north, south.
I think it's over there somewhere. Sprague in the line brought to you by Ryan Day. When Ryan Day asked after losing to Michigan what happened, his player responded that Brandon Sprague took Ohio State money line.
Actually, I took Michigan. I always root for Michigan in that game.
Sprague in the line brought to you by Martha Stewart's Airplane Hot Towels. That's all. Ortner is terrible at betting. Sprague is bad, but not as bad as Ortner.
Wow, Ortner's having a bad year. I always feel like he's on there and it's like, I'm actually 24-5 on the year, not wearing a shirt.
I like Ortner catching random Sprague in the line strays.
I love it.
Sprague in the line brought to you by Andrew Jones. Sprague making quality picks is just as confusing as the Braves legend turning into a white guy covering college football.
Well,
Valid point. Although I don't know if he's white or not. I'm assuming he is, but I didn't get a picture of him. So I don't know.
what do you sound like?
Sprague in the line brought to you by Dirt's Cannibalism. Still safer than a Sprague pick. Here's how we did.
Cannibalism comment this week was hilarious.
I like to eat people. Here's how we did last week. In a shocking turn of events, I was bad. Sprague won the weekend 3-0. You hit on the Chargers, the Commanders, and the Seahawks.
Thank you, Kirk Cousins.
And I hit on the Broncos, and that was it. That should not have hit either. That should have been a loss, but it found a way to win. I bet on the Blazers, or the Pacers, to cover against the Blazers on Friday or Wednesday or whatever day that was last week. It's all a blur. That did not happen. And then I gambled the Colts -2.5, and they won by 1. Swag went 1-2. He missed on the Lions covering the Big Wood against the Bears on Thanksgiving. He did hit on the Packers -3 against Miami, and then he missed on the Buccaneers -6 against the Panthers. I am already 0-1 for the week because I took the Lions -3 last night and got a push, which, by the way, is our first push of Sprague in the line this year.
Yeah.
Nobody's got a push yet. So the floor is yours, Sprague, your first pick.
I'm going to go to a game where I think a defense is playing well. They certainly had a great game last weekend on Sunday Night Football, but they benefited, I think, against the opponent and the weather. Buffalo's going to L.A. this weekend. There's going to be a lot of Bills Mafia out in Los Angeles, California. And I think Rams fans are weird in the sense of I don't know what their team is. Are they going to win the division? Are they going to miss the playoffs entirely? I don't know, but I'm going to gamble points. Higbee could be coming back for the Rams. He was a full go in practice. I know Kupp did not practice either, but Stafford practiced. I think you can score a little bit on that Bills team. It's not that the Rams are this high-scoring offense. I also think Buffalo is going to score. I'm going to take an over of 49.5 in Buffalo and L.A. I think we get into the high 30s, low 30s here in this game. I think Buffalo wins. The hook kind of scares me. I'm going to take points over 49.5 in Buffalo, LA.
Okay. In a dome, I like that pick. My first pick will go to Tampa, where I'm just taking the bait. I don't care. I'm shooting from the hip. The Bucs are at home. They're taking on the Raiders. The Raiders are not a very good team. I know they came close to beating the Chiefs, but everybody's coming close to beating the Chiefs these days.
Yeah.
Their other games leading up to that have largely been blowouts. I think Tampa realizes the importance of this game after eking out a close win over Carolina last week. They're still alive in the division, 6-6. Who knows what Atlanta's going to do this weekend on the road at Minnesota? So I think the Bucs got a chance, maybe with an Atlanta loss, to be back in first place in the NFC South. I think they win the game by a touchdown. Give me the Bucs 6.5 at home against the Raiders.
This might be really, really stupid, but I think the 13.5 given to Carolina is way too many points the way Bryce Young has been playing, at least recently. They are on the road in Philadelphia. Saquon's probably going to run for 140 yards on their defense, but I still think that the Carolina Panthers can cover 13.5.
Okay. Carolina
that
plus
is
13.5.
down from the hook on the DraftKings app here in Oregon. Does that matter to you at all? I just giving you an update.
What's the hook?
No. Well, you said 13.5. It's
So
at
it's
13.
13.
Oh, okay.
Do you care? I don't know if that matters
I
to you
don't
at
care.
all.
Honestly, at this point, no, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Give me whichever one you guys want to give me.
Okay.
You know, weirdly, I've had this team involved in my picks the last 2 weeks, and one time they screwed me, and last week they rewarded me. I'm kind of going back to the well here. I think the NFC West is without like a really good team.
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking the Cardinal bait again. They just proved me wrong 2 weeks ago in Seattle. They played about as bad as you can. Kyler's not been that good. I'm going to take the bait on them one more time. I like the Cardinals getting sub a field goal at home. Those two teams are close, and I think that it might just be a home-and-home split. I'm going to take Arizona minus the 2.5. I think Seattle loses this one, potentially still winning the division, sure. Cardinals minus 2.5. I think they play a better game this time against Seattle.
Okay.
Kyler not throwing a pick six on a 4th and 1 this time. Cardinals minus 2.5.
All right, my last pick, and by the way, we have Swag's picks. He got them in this week, so I'll read them off here at the end of the segment. My last pick, I'm going to go to Sunday Night Football. I will not be able to watch this game because I'm going to be working on Sunday night. It is Teddy Bear Toss Night on Portland CW.
Doing a hot game.
We got a hot game on Sunday at 4, so thankfully it's an early start time. I appreciate that, schedule makers. So I won't be watching this one live. I'm kind of following a trend, man. Like, the Chiefs are a zombie. They can't be killed, and it's really frustrating because I don't think they're that good this year, but they keep eking out these close win after close win after close win. You giving me 4? You give me Harbaugh. I'm gonna take it. Chargers are used to playing road games because every single one of their games is a road game. They have no home games on their schedule. Give me Chargers plus the 4 in Kansas City on Sunday night.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. No, Schulte's here. It's all good.
I'm going Schulte.
I'm going Monday Night Football. I think the Bengals, I have -5, the line that I'm looking at.
5.5 on
Cowboys. Well, screw it. I still think they're going to. I was going to say it doesn't matter. I think they're going to win by a touchdown.
Yeah.
So I think the Bengals are going to beat Dallas on the road. Last week was an anomaly on Thanksgiving, in my opinion. I think they'll go back right to not scoring any points. And Mr. M&M's there, Joe Burrow, can get it done for the Cincinnati Bengals covering it's 5.5. So
I like
will
that
say
pick.
5.5.
I'm also going to take that pick as well. The over might be the play there because those defenses aren't very good.
49.5.
But I think Burrow, he's playing at an MVP level. We think they're eliminated. I think they're going to play as if they can still sneak into that thing at the back end. Mathematically, I don't think that works for them. I'm going to bite. Plus, I could pick against the Cowboys.
It's always fun to
I'll
do.
take that.
You got anything else, Schulte? Is that it for you?
Honestly, other than my Oregon to cover the 3.5,
you got the Ducks.
and I am saying hammer that. I usually don't say do that with money you don't have, but like this seems to be, not just according to me, but Joel Klatt, everybody in the national media that makes picks are saying closer to like a 10-point victory for Oregon.
Okay. Swag, by the way, I'll give you his picks. He is on the Bills -3.5 in LA against the Rams. He likes the over in the Cincy-Dallas game on Monday night of also 49.5. And he likes the under in Cleveland-Pittsburgh of 43.5. So those are Swag's picks. Sprague, again, is on the Bills-Rams over of 49.5. Arizona -2.5 at home against Seattle. And the Bengals, Monday night, -5.5 against Dallas. I already got a tie last night with the Lions -3. My 2 remaining picks for the weekend, Bucks -6.5 at home against the Raiders. And the Chargers +4 Sunday night in Kansas City. And Schulte, on top of liking the Ducks, likes the Bengals -5.5 as well Monday night. And Carolina +13 in Philly. There you go. Sprague in the line every Friday at 8:30. Let's send you off into your weekend next on The Fan.
It's time for To the House, the scoring plays that make football special. Brought to you by Smartline Home Design. Online at smartlinehomedesign.com.
1st and goal. Into the end zone. Walking in. David Montgomery for the touchdown.
Nice night for fantasy running backs last night. Montgomery, Jacobs had 3 touchdowns, if I'm not mistaken. Montgomery had 1, so good little night for fantasy backs. And there's a Montgomery taking it to the house. Lions get the win on Thursday Night Football.
Yeah, how often can you take 2 running backs on the same team on a fantasy team? Gibbs and Montgomery both over 1,000 yards this year, touchdown machines. That Lions offense, high-powered, man, he's great.
To the House, brought to you by Smartline Home Design. Their meticulous attention to detail translates into streamlined construction processes, saving valuable time and resources for their home building or construction partners. Bringing your vision to life with a game plan for success. Find them online at smartlinehomedesign.com.
Builders, streamline your projects with Smartline Home Design. With over a decade in the industry, our 3D home plans get it right the first time.
From Target. Restrictions apply.
This is Big Ten Championship Week with Durden Sprague.
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
On 1080 The Fan.
There you go, fist pumping your way into the weekend every single Friday. This thing that I saw floating around the internet yesterday. Ricky Pearsall was shot in the chest in August.
Mm-hmm.
He has played 5 games since being shot in the chest and coming back. Joel Embiid has played 4 games this year for the 76ers for injury management.
He played in the Olympics.
He did play in the Olympics.
Helped
he
us
did.
get a gold.
He did. Yeah, he did.
He was big at the very
Was he
end.
big at the
end? One of the halves of one of the last couple games, yeah.
What is going to be the top headline on Monday's show?
Portland does it again. Clippers and the Jazz this weekend. I mean, how does that not lead the story come Monday morning?
Who do we got tonight? Utah in town tonight, or are we in Utah?
Oh, no,
we're
it's
home.
back home.
Back home. We're favored against the Jazz.
But I think it's the first time
Jazz
this
pretty
season.
bad.
They've been favored.
First time all year they've been favored against anybody?
I've been betting them all year, and I do not remember ever seeing a minus behind there or in front of their name.
Ooh,
at
I didn't think about that.
Let me see. Who are the other bad? We haven't played the Wizards yet. We'd be favored against them.
Yep. It would depend where you play some of the other teams.
Yeah, Hawks at home. Are we favored in that game? Probably
No,
not.
I
Trae
think
Young,
Atlanta was
no.
favored in that game.
Let's see here. Who else could be a candidate? Not a lot of candidates out there for underdogs. Pelly's in that game where we won by 18.
Right now, if we played them
we'd be favored over the Pellies.
They're worse than us.
But they were favored by like 7 or 8 each time Portland already faced them.
Yeah, because earlier in the season, before we got a good look at what the Pellies would be.
I'm trying to see.
Kings are better than us. No way we were favored over Sacramento, even though we beat them at home.
Yeah.
You got some inside info, or you maybe watch a little bit. You can, early in the NBA season, make a little bit of money on Vegas because they're guessing just as much as everybody else.
Now, basketball is such a crapshoot.
Taking a shot in the dark with it. Yeah, they get the Jazz tonight.
10.5.
So that's going to be our lead story today. Let's go, baby. Our lead story on Monday, Lakers and Jazz, 2 vulnerable teams. Did we pick up a couple of wins? Are we 10-14 on Monday doing the show? Lakers are in a free-for-all or free fall.
They'll turn it around against Portland. They always do, right?
They're going to play one game between now and next Friday.
That's a little weird.
Yeah, because Sunday's their last game with the Clippers, and then they take the week off, and then they're back next Friday to take on the Spurs.
Yeah, we got Cup week next week.
We got Cup checking.
The final Cup check of the season. It's all coming down to a big conclusion this week, Cup check time.
What is the takeaway Monday in all seriousness?
What are we yelling about? What's the lead story? Alabama being in, Alabama being out, somebody losing or winning a conference title.
Sunday, that's right.
It's going to be Sunday. We're going to know the bracket on Monday's show.
Bama in.
Bama in?
Bama in.
Yeah.
Why do we play the conference title game? Which would be the narrative if SMU loses.
Yeah, you could have 2 3-loss SEC teams in if that happens. Whew. If Georgia loses this weekend and then SMU loses and they sneak Bama in ahead of SMU.
Well, Bama should be ahead of Georgia.
Or I guess if SMU beat Clemson, then that would be the playoff. Yeah, you need SMU to win for that not to be a controversy. And you would have 2 3-loss SEC teams in the college football playoff. Wild stuff, man.
Underrated one could be Herbert is close.
Yeah. Get a win.
Win
nice
Kansas
for them.
City, man. Kansas City's kind of due for another loss at some point.
Been teetering for a long time. Going to get it done.
Winning 1-score games.
That will do it for us, folks. Thanks so much for being a part of our Friday. Tomorrow will be Conference Championship Week. I'll be here doing the pregame show 1 to 3. And then, hey, don't forget, tune in to Portland CW on Sunday, 4 o'clock. Teddy Bear Toss Night. Awesome spectacle. It's going to be a sold-out VMC. A lot of fun. Portland and Vancouver, and then we'll be back on Monday. What do you got coming up today? Anything to tease, Schulte, 12 to 3?
I mean, we're going to talk Bill Belichick. We're going to preview the Portland Trail Blazers. Utah tonight, kind of do a state of the Blazers. We're quarter of the way into the NBA season, if you didn't know. I like to check in, quarter away, half away, see if anybody cares, see how the Blazers are doing. So we'll do that, and of course, preview the Conference Championship weekend as well.
I love that you're like, see if anybody cares.
Yeah. Anybody there? Anybody there? Hello?
December hit. Basketball? Anybody? Hello?
Hello? That will do it for us, folks. Have a great weekend. Thanks for being a part of our Friday. Like the video on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet. We'll talk to you Monday at 6 a.m. Colin is next. You're listening to 1080 The Fan.
The Pelicans are a home dog tonight. I'm Sammy P, here to help you beat the books with BetQL. New Orleans welcomes the